Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Think Critical YouTube. We are back, baby. My vacation is over, and I am back to run the show once again, although it sounds like everybody had a great time in my absence. We had a couple of shows run by Aaron, and I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron for helping me out there, buddy.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to do it. It was a lot of fun. We invited some new guests on and had a big robust discussion where we made fun of some of them. So it was a lot of fun. I'm just happy to be here, spreading some California love. You know, in California, we know how to riot. So welcome everybody to the Third World West. We got more crime than Sydney Sweeney's got breast.
Oh, nice.
Snap.
Well, I know who you didn't make fun of, Aaron, is Dylan.
No, we held Dylan. We actually honored Dylan up on a pedestal.
Yeah. Because when we saw him in Dallas, he pulled out the gun show. And I don't want to mess with that guy.
Yeah, we don't want a sleeper. We don't want to get locked in a sleeper hold by Dylan. Trust me.
Yeah, make a choke. Something like that. But we do have a special guest today. We have comic book legend Mike Baird. How you doing, Mike?
Doing good, thank you.
So you've got a project right now on Kickstarter, fully funded to the what, 6 digits? We're at $150,000 already for Nexus Volume 1?
Thereabouts.
Congratulations on the huge success, brother.
Oh, thank you. And for those who haven't read Nexus, it's a science fiction superhero comic set 500 years in the future. It is both real science fiction and great drama. And if you read one issue, you'll be hooked, and you'll have to read them all.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this. Wouldn't it have been much better to give this creation to one of the big 2 publishers, and then they could do an omnibus, and then maybe, just maybe, they'd give you a copy? Isn't that better?
You know, that's funny, Aaron, because when we created this book for Capital Comics back in the day, we were young and stupid, and we signed away the rights. And then Capital Comics sold them to First Comics. And we did 100 issues for First. And then First Comics sold them to Dark Horse Comics. And in an act of unprecedented generosity that has never happened before or since, Mike Richardson returned the rights to us. So now we own Nexus.
Very nice. See, that's the sort of thing that you love to hear, because you only hear it once.
That's right.
You don't hear that story very often.
No.
But yeah, congratulations on that. You got anything else in the pipeline that people need to know about as far as comic books?
Well, we just turned, Blaine Pardo and I just turned in our third tenure novel, which is about a history professor who refused to use a student's preferred pronoun and how it destroyed his life, and how he dedicates the rest of his life to fighting back against cancel culture. 2 tenure novels are out on Amazon. I just turned in my 11th biker novel. And Pat Broadick is wrapping up Bronze Star #2. We're very excited about that. And I'm doing some other jobs. It might be premature to mention.
Well, very nice. Well, congratulations. And if you're interested in supporting Nexus Omnibus Volume 1, there's a link in the video description. And obviously, you got a lot of chew on there. How many pages is that omnibus, Mike?
864.
So that might take you a week or two to finish.
Do you plan on, or do you have the opportunity to do a volume 2?
We hope so.
I meant with having the rights returned to you. I wasn't.
Oh yes,
sure
of course, yes.
Okay. That's spectacular. Have you figured out how many would be kind of the whole 4? All right. So if you all go out and support this one, it'll definitely help towards getting volume 2 and 3 and then 4, because trying to find those single issue Nexus books is a chore.
Tell me about it.
They're
it's hard in my basement.
Well, very nice. Glad to have Mike on here. We got lots of fun stuff to talk about when it comes to comic books. We did just wrap up Dallas Fan Expo. I got to meet Dylan, Aaron, Sully in person. We had 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. We had MVP, Josh McDonald, Drew there, H.H. German from Sigma Comics. Perch was there, so we had a great time. They got me this awesome Macho Man Randy Savage shirt, which has got some great American flair to it.
Dig it!
I am the cream of the crop, apparently. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Does it have a small creamer on there anywhere?
I wish it did, but I don't believe he's holding up the little creamer. That would have the only thing that would have made it better.
You know,
If it was
they made a Macho Man figure, and the chase figure was him with the little cream of the crop like fingers that you could put on him.
Well, that's the one you got to get it.
Yeah, no, I got it.
So, what did you think of your experience at Dallas Fan Expo or Fan Expo Dallas? We got some awesome cupcakes from AL, Aaron, that were absolutely magnifique.
Yes, we did. And they went quick. And we actually sequestered them so that we could send some home to purchase kids and with your kids. Did they enjoy them? Did they get all hopped up on sugar and bounce off the walls and keep you guys up?
Yeah. We waited for the morning. We didn't give it to them at night, though.
Smart. That's smart parenting.
Yeah. And then obviously, Sully, you were having a good time, but you're much more of like an autograph guy. You were there for your Angel television series, like DVD box set or something.
I brought the slipcase for my Angel 30 DVD, box, set. And because it's a lot easier to transport, I got, put it in a file folder. I also got, I'm a big fan of Felicia Day. She's just, a nerdy girl of pop culture for the past 20 years. She's got this really awesome show called The Guild, which is about a bunch of people that know each other online and that have to meet up in real life for the first time. And kind of like us. And it was really fun to meet them. James Marsters, Spike of Buffy and Angel, Julie Benz, who plays Darla on Buffy and Angel, and David Boreanaz of Angel, the lead character. I got them all to sign my Angel cover, and that was great. I got to meet Star Wars Theory for a couple of minutes and talk about Aikido, because that's a common love of ours. I got to meet Ram V and tell him to his face, brother, you need to be writing Sandman. And he was like, well, we'll see about that. Philip Kennedy Johnson was a great dude. I met Charles Soule. I got to compliment him for Eddie Brock Carnage and Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. And then I got to meet my friends in real life. And that was a really great experience hanging out with you guys and meeting the Rippaverse booth too. I mean, I got to meet Gary Beekler. He's the one that told me the secret to YouTube is get a really good microphone, a decent webcam, and have something to say. And he gave me the gift of the gratitude list, which has revolutionized my life on a day-to-day basis. I mean, what a great time.
I told Aaron that my own web series that I would make if I had the money to fund it would be the strange roommates Sully and Nick Weiser like television show.
Yeah, the powers of positivity, the Twin Towers. It was so funny. Nick and I talked before the con. So he asked where I was staying. He ended up not just in my hotel, he had the room next to me. And it was completely by random chance. Or was it by cosmic design?
Did you unlock the door between the two?
We didn't have a door. Yeah.
Let's not pretend here.
But,
they use one room for storage and they use one room for sleeping.
Dude, Nick brought his gear with him. Nick did his show on Friday night. The rest of us, we met up for supper. Dylan was there. It was Max and me and Aaron and Josh and Drew. And we had supper all together. And what was Nick doing? Well, he was making his YouTube show. He brought his desktop with him, and he was broadcasting from his hotel room. God bless him. He's consistent. I love him.
And then finally, Dylan, obviously you were there, but you were there more for the comic books, and you went up with a stack of like 25 or 30 Jonah Hex books or something.
I got so many Jonah Hex books. I was filling in my my collection, so filling in the run. I got the two big ones I was looking for, which was the Death issue and the first appearance of Mailing, so that was really cool. But yeah, I got a lot of Jonah Hex comics. I got to meet Philip Kennedy Johnson, which was really cool. Had a really good conversation with Peter Tomasi, which was really cool. So yeah, I had a really good convention. It was fun.
So is it stack up with Emerald City Comic Con?
Yeah, it was really good. It was weird that the first day it wouldn't let you until like 4:00. That felt weird. But other than that, I liked the convention. It was good.
Very nice. It was fun meeting.
Yeah,
we all had a good time. And before we get to our major topic, I guess we should talk about the sponsor of today's video, We have Unholy Nightmare #2, fully funded, and they are sponsoring today's video. Definitely a huge shout out. If you're interested in that, there's a link in the video description. Definitely go out there and support Drew and the guys behind the comic book.
Yeah, if you go out there and you
is
support
proudly
Unholy Nightmare.
sponsored by Unholy Nightmare #2, the explosive, terrifying new chapter in one of the most badass indie horror action series out there. Fully funded in just 5 days. And issue 2 is already 100% complete. It goes to printer as soon as the campaign closes on July 6th. So there's no waiting around for your book. And don't miss the killer add-on, The Golem, a 10-page origin story co-written by our very own Drew, aka Dolan Waddick, and Aaron Sparrow, with interior art by future superstar Vudon. It's a must-read bonus to an already stacked campaign. Drew's track record speaks for itself. He's delivered over a dozen crowdfunded comics on time or early every single time. So head over to Kickstarter and back Unholy Nightmare #2 today. Scan the QR code now or click on the link in the video description.
Can't wait to see that.
The second issue.
Stuff.
So good.
So Aaron, obviously you're a part of that. You edited the second issue, but you also co-wrote a 10-page add-on. What's going on with the Golem?
So the Golem is a major character that gets introduced in issue 2, and we talked about, like, what kind of add-ons can we do, and Drew had a really good idea for his origin, and so he asked me if I would help him write it, and so we did it in a very kind of EC Comics kind of style, where you have the omniscient Crypt Keeper type narrator. It's all narrated by Vlad, so we really tried to lean into that and have some fun with it, but it's a very serious, very dark story. So it's a little bit of a, it starts off a little bit of a tonal shift that was fun to do. So I was very pleased that Drew asked me to help. Obviously I love editing this book. I love working on it, but I think everybody's really going to enjoy it.
And congratulations. Another successfully funded crowd comic.
Yeah, we do all right. And then Neil Before Doomface is still trucking along. We're still taking late pledges. People are still jumping in as we're in the lettering stage. So, we're going to be closing that out as soon as that's done and we get ready to go to press. So, we're having a lot of fun. We're just, out here working hard and trying to fulfill books.
Very nice. You out there? Are you peacefully protesting, Aaron?
No, I'm not. I'm not going out and joining the Riot Day activities. Thank you very much.
Oh, very nice.
But yeah, every day in California is Riot Day if you hold it in your heart.
The last person we haven't talked to, Doc, didn't get to meet us up in Dallas, but I'm sure Doc had other stuff like cheerleading camps or something going on. What's going on, Doc? You there?
I didn't realize I was muted. No, I just had a bunch of work to do over the weekend, and I was I'm in the process of doing some framing and building a closet.
Well, very nice. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Closet?
Huh?
Are you going to go into the closet, Doc?
No, it's not large enough for my fat ass to get inside of. But no, yeah. So I'm just trying to get. I have so much work around the house that I haven't gotten done, and it's the weather.
All right, Aaron, stop that. I'm going to control the show, okay? You're confusing me too much.
Oh my goodness! Oh my!
Aaron's like, I get the play God.
Yeah. We might have to remove those admin privileges any day now. He keeps messing around with the dashboard and all that stuff. But we do have some awesome people to thank as well when it comes to new Patreon backers. If you're interested in backing the Patreon, you get a superhero name, you get a city to protect, and you get awesome podcasts featuring your favorite guests here on the channel, including Aaron Sparrow, Doc, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser, Jim from Weird Science. Got lots of cool stuff going on over there. And I've lost the list. It always happens to me. But thank you very much to Dunebat, the Night Prophet himself, protector of Duskhaven, for coming aboard, becoming a part of the Think Critical family and backing us over there on Patreon. A huge shout out to Comic Nuts, Havoc Jack himself, protector of Breaker City. Really appreciate your support, brother. AP, aka the Arc Predator. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Protector of the Glint. And finally, Calvero. Really appreciate you coming on board, helping out the family here with Crimson Eagle, protector of Dominion City. And as I said, if you're interested in supporting the channel on Patreon and getting awesome exclusive podcasts that you will not see here on the YouTube, you do need to go to Think Critical Patreon. There is a link in the video description. And we do have, it looks like a couple of super chats. We got Jagron 2. Man, we are in countdown. West Doc, Leah Williams Experience, Part 2, Gotham City Sirens, Boogaloo. We're just weeks away from that epic review.
I mean, I guess I'm going to have to read this piece of shit, aren't I?
Probably just the first issue.
Okay.
Or you could do what you did to yourself this week with Giant Size X-Men and just read the whole thing.
I fucked up because I didn't realize I read the wrong terrible giant sized issue, giant sized Kamala Khan. I read the first one first when I was just supposed to read Dark Phoenix. And now it did help me. Well, I would say understand the story better, but I don't think the writers understood the story that they were writing. Because there isn't a story and there is no plot and there is no logical through line. And the villain doesn't even really seem to have a motivation.
All right, Doc, don't give away too many spoilers on this review. It's coming up on Monday.
Yeah, but I unfortunately read the first issue too because I didn't realize there was 2 of these pieces of shit out already.
You didn't love the funny dialogue like, Miss Gray, I know you want to like kill all your loved ones and go eat 1 billion suns, but there's something really wrong with the time stream. You didn't enjoy that great comedic dialogue that really sells the thread of the Phoenix?
Yeah, no, I think I missed that part. I did not have a wonderful appreciation for the hive minds dialogue. I'm sorry, anybody that has to give themselves their own nickname, you suck.
I think
I am the D-Man, and I gave myself the nickname.
I think I want everybody to call me T-Bone, so I'll order a T-Bone steak. And then T-Bone.
So Doc and I will likely be reviewing the second part of Gotham City Sirens, and I do want to give a shout out to World at War Comics. I see he's in the chat there. Tommy, we met him down at Dallas Fan Expo. He's got his own channel in a really cool comic book podcast. He's going to be on the Aficionados very soon. Well, hopefully next week, if not then the week after, but we're definitely going to get him on there. We had a lot of fun. He actually went to lunch with us when I was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
He went to dinner with us too, and with Perch.
Point on the doll where he touched you, Wes. Please.
It wasn't a doll; it was an egg.
Wow.
But
was it lefty or righty?
It was that's a story for another time. But
is it though?
No.
See,
here's the thing, Aaron. I can't tell the story now because Doc is here. And he'll go too far because Doc is what Charlie Murphy calls a habitual line stepper. Now, I don't mind Doc giving me crap about the thing that happened because it was awful and it deserves to be made fun of, but he will go too far, in accordance with YouTube.
That's true. And maybe Saturday morning. Maybe Saturday morning's not the place for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Doc will not be able to control himself when he hears what this egg did to me.
Oh, jeez.
It was unpleasant to say the least.
I don't know. You looked pretty happy when it happened.
Speaking of chickens, I want to be known as El Diablo, which I hear is called the fighting chicken.
Very nice. Andres Hernandez, speaking of Sully, is Sully actually a chef? Have you tried his cooking and what's his favorite dish?
Ooh, yes, I am actually a chef. Nobody here has tried my cooking unless
only Nick Weiser, because you had to cook him breakfast the next morning.
No, the hotel gave us breakfast with sausage and sausage gravy and biscuits and omelets and stuff. It was great and complimentary. It was great. But have you tried my cooking? You could. I have a playlist for that on my YouTube channel. Come and subscribe and check out my cooking playlist. I share my favorite dish is my rib technique. I love ribs, and I make perfect restaurant quality ribs at home, the kind that stay on the bone with every bite, but you have bare bones by the time you're done. You have a big pile of them. I love ribs.
So you take the shortcut like Tony Roma's, where you boil the ribs.
No, I use a
No,
tight
I
foil
do.
pack. I put like a spice rub, some raw garlic on top that will turn into roasted garlic by the time we're done, that I can smear all over it. I put a tight foil pack, no holes in it. You want the steam in there, a low temperature, 300 degrees, 290 or so, for get a 4-pound rack, about 4 hours, let it cool. And the next day you slice between, they're fridge cold, you slice between the bones with the paring knife, and then you sauce and reheat them, and they will come right up. You won't end up with a plate of pulled pork. You don't want pulled pork. You want ribs. I got your recipe. I got your technique. Come and get it.
Very nice. So you are a certified chef.
I'm certifiable, but yeah, I've been a professional cook for about 30 years. And I've been a pantry chef, a sous chef, never a lead executive chef. That's out of my pay grade. I'm more of like your NCO. I'm your staff sergeant. You know what I mean? In leadership in a kitchen too, training young.
That means
people.
you do all the work, and then someone else takes
I do.
credit.
Yeah, I do the work. But it's a lot like being Batman. I mean, being a chef is like being Batman. I mean, no guns.
I don't know. It feels like you're Robin.
No way, man.
Sully,
The
I have
executive chef
Robin.
is Batman.
I train
Sully,
the Robins.
I say you're a certified chef, a certified G, and a bona fide stud.
Wolf.
Well, there you
How
go.
you doing?
How you doing?
There you go.
If we don't
And
bring
we've
up
also got
wrestling, what are we doing?
HH, the folks at Sigma Comics. Shout out to the Think Critical team and the legend Mike Barrett. Great seeing you all in Dallas. Resting now, but I'll hang out with Mike next weekend at Heroes Con, where we'll debut Calico Morality Play back at Nexus Omnibus on
That's
Kickstarter.
my friend Harold. You know, I just want to say this book, Calico, is Punisher for animals.
But he doesn't punish the animals. He punishes people that aren't nice to animals. We don't want to give them the wrong impression.
That's true.
So we obviously met HH as well. He shared a booth with Drew and Aaron, which was really, really awesome and very, very generous of him. It was kind of like our meeting point for the Thinking Critical family at Dallas Fan Expo. But it was absolutely awesome seeing him in person. And that guy is always selling. He definitely believes in ABC, always be closing, right?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. You know, I first time I met Harold, we were at the Colorado Springs Comic Con. I've never charged for a signature in my life. And Harold's standing next to me, and first guy comes up with a backpack, a heavy backpack, and he stoops down and he puts a stack that's like 6 inches high in front of me, and he says, "How much for an autograph?" And before I could say anything, Harold says, $10 a signature. And it's been that way ever since.
Very nice. He made you a little bit of coin on there. And we got to meet him and his assistant. I think it's Casey, right?
Casey,
I've
yes.
not met Casey, I don't think.
Yeah, she's a really nice lady. My boys were with us on the second day at the Comic-Con, and she gave them the stickers and stuff like that. So I really appreciated that. And definitely, if you're going to be at Heroes Con, go out there and meet Mike Barrett, go meet HH and the people at Sigma Comics, and go check out Morality Play. Then Jagron 2 says, Hush 2 is delayed. Release strategy, thumbs down. So Doc and I already recorded a video on this one, but I think this is a really bad idea and not good news for DC Comics with all the momentum that they have to actually delay Batman for an entire month on a story arc that people were actually excited about.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too smart. And they had this
Jim
plan
Lee
out
book?
a while ago, so it's crazy that they're delaying it already. When it's already delayed, it has a delay built in because it goes 6 issues and then it's off for like a year and then it comes back for the 6 more. So how do you have a delay built in and then you still have another delay that pops up?
Well, Annie started last summer.
Yeah.
But at least we got Batman and Robin and Dark Patterns this week.
We got this was a great Batman week.
I still think that they dropped the ball whenever they did it as Hatouche instead of HU2H. Because an S looks like a 2. A U doesn't.
Yeah.
I love Hatouche. It's my favorite story going on right now. And who would have guessed that a book with art by Jim Lee would get delayed? It's not like that's happened on every single thing that he's done the last several years.
Yeah. Sounds unfortunate. But at least it was a good week, right?
Coming, Wes. Convention
Right,
season's
Dylan? You had
coming.
a
gotta make
good comic
30
book
grand,
week, right?
Yeah, this was a great week and for Batman, especially. There were just a lot of great Batman books out this week. Like 4 Batman books.
Oh, you're right. Absolute Batman. I wasn't even thinking about
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
What was the-
Batman,
what
Batman,
was the
Robin,
fourth
Dark
one?
Patterns, Robin and Batman, Jason Todd.
Oh
Ooh,
yes,
I got that.
that was
one.
one I thought was the weakest.
Me too.
But
Yeah, I still
pretty
liked it
important
though.
time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there you go. Very, very cool stuff. I guess we should get back into the main topic here. Definitely appreciate everybody supporting the channel. But there's a lot of talk about, the healthy comic book industry. And I do think things are turning around when it comes to the mainstream. DC is stronger than it's been probably since DC Rebirth. So probably 7 years ago. I think the indies are as strong as they've been for quite some time. Marvel is probably as weak as they've been perhaps ever when it comes to creativity, but it sounds like we're getting feedback. People are getting into some of the DC stuff and the indie stuff, but it hasn't quite fully recovered. But I think a lot of people, for some reason, Mike, want to just claim that comic books are back and it's better than ever because there's a good Transformers comic book. And it's kind of brought up the conversation, at least behind the scenes with the aficionados, like what is a really healthy, robust comic book industry actually going to look like when it fully rebounds? Now, you being a legend, I imagine you have some ideas about this.
There's something that nobody ever mentions, but we have a whole generation of kids here who don't read. They don't read. And the reason is that they were raised on the internet. And frankly, the average corporate comic cannot compete with a good video game in terms of bang for your buck. So I can't blame them. Now, if comics suddenly became compelling and must have, would that change? It would certainly change the readership. But in order to win back this generation of kids who don't read and they're not interested in comics, you have to produce something that attracts their attention. And of course, the first thing is an unbelievable story that you say, you got to read this. Like when Watchmen came out or when Frank Miller did Daredevil. Those books were must see, and there was buzz about them. That doesn't happen these days because most comics are crap. That's not a new revelation. It's Sturgeon's Law. Sturgeon was a great science fiction writer, and Sturgeon's Law says 90% of everything is crap. 90% of movies, 90% of TV, books, comics, and it's true. I dipped into corporate comics a couple of years ago because I was curious. I wanted to see what Ta-Nehisi Coates was doing with Captain America. And there was new Kung Fu. And it had a Chinese writer, a Chinese artist, a Chinese inker, and a Chinese letterer. And neither of those books had any entertainment value whatsoever. No, I'm not going to go into Ta-Nehisi Coates because he doesn't know how to craft a story. But in terms of Master of Kung Fu is in the title. And you'd think that it would show Kung Fu. Well, how do you show Kung Fu in a comic? Well, you can. If you break these fights down and choreograph them in an exciting manner and show techniques developing step by step, the reader will follow along. And that doesn't mean just waving a fist. I mean, there's so many techniques in martial arts. There are joint locks, there are takedowns. And if you get into the details of what fingers you grab and where do you place your hip and stuff like that, then the reader will be interested. And here's another revelation. People don't talk while they're fighting, except for Nate Diaz.
Kevin Holland, I'll throw in there too. He likes to talk a lot during his fights.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
most
Lee
people
was a talker. I saw him once.
Yeah, most people don't. Well, currently, as far as comics goes, like Wes was saying, I'd say DC and independents are in a pretty good spot as far as the quality of comics. Not talking sales or anything like that. But as far as the quality of comics, you can pick up a DC or an independent that's pretty good. Marvel, it's tough. They'll have some good minis, but that's it. Like, oh man, I'm really digging this comic. Oh, 5 issues, it's over. Like Hellhunters. Actually, I thought it was the best thing Marvel's done in years. It's over. You want to pick up an ongoing or your favorite character and see what's going on. It's a tough time, which really sucks. And it's a big thing that's been going on. You touched on with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Captain America is one of the biggest guys in the MCU. If you wanted to see, hey, how's Cap doing in the comics? It wasn't a good time for you. Like, there was nothing to read because I'd say the first half of Rick Remender's run was good, but didn't touch Brubaker's. And then after that, it's just been downhill. You had nothing. There was nothing to check out. Mark Waid came in for a bit. It was bad. Ta-Nehisi Coates had like I think 2 shots at the character, and it was bad. They haven't been able to capitalize on how popular these characters have been. And now you've got Daredevil made a resurgence, which the show wasn't very good, but they made a resurgence, and he's in a rough spot right now. That current run's not very good. It doesn't seem like they're capitalizing on these characters that people want to read about, and it's tough.
Yeah, well, that's funny because Captain America and the Punisher are 2 of the easiest characters in the world to get right.
Yep, it's very simple what people want from those characters. And it's not Punisher to go worship the beast and work with the hand and only use blades. That's not what people really want when it comes to Frank.
No. I mean, I guess the problem you have in mainstream comics these days is they appear to be actively attempting to give the reader the exact thing that they don't want.
The finger.
Yeah, the finger. And I guess, what, to get back to the real question here of what a comic like a healthy comics industry looks like. There's a lot of ways to quantify this. You got to think, is it through increased sales? Is it through greater distribution and availability? Is it through growth? Is it through price deflation to make it a more, sustainable product? What's the percentage of the comics industry, that has to be good on a monthly basis for it to be, considered healthy? I mean, yeah, okay, you might have, I don't know, 15, 20 good comics coming out a month right now, maybe 30. You got 500 books. Is that healthy? Was a top 50 that was competitive better when you had only 300 books on the market? Was a top 75 that was very, very competitive when you only had 200 books on the market? That's okay, you got 20 good books. All right, you might have had 20 good books 10 years ago too, or maybe that's up from only 15 good books or 10 good books 10 years ago. You have twice as many fucking comics on the market too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of garbage, a lot of crying trees. Like, I gave my life for this, for Stephanie Phillips Phoenix. No. Oh, the cries of the trees, the poor Ents. What would the Ents of Lord of the Rings think of us now?
But I mean, I guess you kind of need to ask yourself, is there a percentage?
Right.
I mean, because you could say that there's, you need 50 good books.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do they need? Does the comic industry at its current rate need to produce 1,500 books a month to get those 50 good books? Because currently that's the same percentage.
Yep.
Of what you have to triple the output to triple the good quantity. Is it looking back, say 30 years, where basically the entire top 25 sold over 100K? Is that the margin of good?
I can tell you right now, there's not a comic book selling over 100,000.
I know. I mean,
not even absolute bad.
Yeah, what is the threshold and what is the criteria that we're going to determine? I don't. There's a bunch of criteria. I'd say let's look at when the last known healthy industry was. What, 1993, 94, or is it 2005? I mean, to the audience and to everybody else on the panel, When do we want to decide the last time the comics industry appeared healthy?
I'd say 2005. That's about, or I took a big break. I've been reading comics all my life. I took a break in the mid 90s, specifically at Onslaught with the X-Men. I hit the wall, but I came back in 2001.
What was 2005 healthy, or was it sustainable?
It was well, I'm a reader. So for me, I guess like the two metrics that matter the most in this question would be paid circulation and relevancy. And back in 2005, I mean, I was a Wednesday warrior once again, and I was just having.
But 5 years ago, Marvel Comics heroes were more relevant than ever.
But say let's go with 2005. Is that healthy when it's still when the comics industry was producing twice as many books but only selling a third as many copies as they did in 1990? Is that healthy, or is that just merely not unhealthy? I feel like that's the first question we need to figure out in order to start figuring out criteria for the health of the industry.
Well, there's also a lot of changes that have happened since 2005. Obviously, we did have the internet then, but digital consumption of media is so much bigger nowadays. Can you have a healthy comic book industry without a healthy digital distribution strategy?
Well, I mean, I can you? Yes, absolutely. Will they? Because you're basically wiping out. If you're wiping out 30 years of fans that are primarily consuming everything digitally. No, you asked the question, can you? And the answer is obviously yes. If you start suddenly selling 200,000 copies a month in stores, then yeah, you could go down to zero in a digital market, and it doesn't fucking matter. You're selling out a lot more
on 300,000 digital sales.
Does anything get 300,000 digital sales that's not manga?
That's what I'm saying. They have a competent, healthy, robust digital distribution strategy.
Yeah, I'm. Well, my question, it has less to do with physical versus digital as much as what kind of volume you're moving at what price point and whether or not people love the product. I don't really care and I don't think anybody here really. I mean, yes, as a collector.
How's that? What if Marvel and DC were doing great, but the sales weren't good, but the quality was good and the fans were happy? Is that healthy? But the sales weren't rising?
No, I would say it's not, because then it's not a financially viable product. I mean, hey, look, I can make something that 10 people really, really, really fucking love. Doesn't make it healthy or viable.
And Mike, what do you think about the pricing? We've gone up to basically a non-A or B tiered character or title is essentially $4, but anything that's A or B tiered or a #1 issue or a special is $5 and above. Can you have a healthy industry when comic books are that expensive? When you go up to the cash register and a soda or a candy bar is $2, and normally back in the day, a comic book was essentially the same price as the impulse purchase that you got at the counter.
I think that just reflects inflation in general. At the same time, the big two, and DC in particular, are going overseas for their artists so they can pay them less money and get a bigger profit, which they wouldn't have to do if they were selling vital comics that everyone had to have. But, a hamburger costs $10 these days. And that's the least you can spend for a hamburger that's decent. Whereas in the world of crowdfunding, especially the world I'm in, we're selling books for $25 a pop. Well, how do we get to do that? Well, #1, the story is absolutely engrossing and exciting. #2, the art is fucking great. #3, people read these books and they say, holy shit, why can't all comics be this good? And #4, they're often 80 pages long.
Well, and often they also have a direct connection with their audience where they're building that connection, getting direct feedback and listening to them and hopefully adjusting accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, if you hook them with a story like Pat Broadick and I put out Bronze Star. It was either last year or the year before. It's been so long now, but and Bronze Star 2 is almost finished. And the initial orders weren't that great, but then people started reviewing it, and we instantly sold out. And the demand has been steady ever since. Because, as I said, I know what I'm doing, and Pat is doing the greatest work of his career. I mean, it's mind blowing. It would be mind blowing for an artist of any age, but to see this work coming from a guy who's 70 years old is just phenomenal. If you want to know what I mean, let me show you a page here, if I may. If I may, you guys keep chatting.
Well,
All
I
right,
mean,
Sparrow, what are your thoughts on
Sparrow,
this? What is healthy? Is it healthy yet? Is it rebounding? Where are we at?
Oh,
Sparrow?
me? You know,
Oh, yes,
guys,
me?
I would say if you want to know the state of the industry, the best site to follow is icv2.com, which is Internal Correspondence Volume 2. It's a hangover from the Capitol days, and it was started by my old friend Milton Greep, and that's a site that's devoted to comic books, the gaming industry, and movies, and it's the best place to look if you want to know what's going on in the screen. But Milt only covers the traditional world. He's not covering the outside world of crowdfunded, kind of what we call the left hand of comics. So if you see that, that's a good site. I don't know where else to go. Oh, Bleeding Fool. Bleeding Fool is the opposite of ICV2 in that it is mostly centered on the world of crowdfunding. And it also covers comics from a conservative point of view, which is unusual. So you might want to check those two. Wes, I put that photo up. I think it's in the room. If it's not in the room, yeah, there it is. I wish we could see it bigger. That's a page from Bronze Star #2. That's Pat Broadick's work. It's pencil and inks. He drew every shingle. He drew every cigar butt in the street.
Phenomenal detail.
That's
I
wonderful.
know.
It looks
Yeah,
like an
I
old
know.
wood carving almost. You know, it's so detailed.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough. I mean, you show as long as
No,
you
it
want.
looks
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
my question though, and Mike, this is and I don't mean to be critical. While I like a lot of the stuff that's done in the crowdfunding sphere, is that healthy or is it merely like right on the barely sustainable mark? Like, and this is because I have seen a lot of entropy hitting the crowdfunding space over the last year or two, and that's probably possibly more of a product of the economy just being questionable.
That didn't work.
Well,
my opinion is that if you build a vital product, people will come. You know, when the automobile was invented, people said horses will be extinct in 10 years. That didn't happen because people love horses. People love comics. Comics will always be here in some shape or another. And also a word on digital. I say digital smigital. I got to have physical product for a couple of reasons. One is when that giant Chinese electromagnetic pulse hits, all our digital stuff is going to disappear. Number two, there's a special magic that occurs when you're looking at a well-illustrated comic and it's well written, and you look down at these drawings on a page that have been colored. You enter into that world. The barrier between artifice and eye disappears, and you're living that story. And that doesn't happen with digital.
Well, I do agree. I prefer the physical experience, but there is a couple, 3 generations of consumers that really aren't in the physical space when it comes to media and stuff like that. And me personally, I have to do digital, one, because I'm overseas, but number 2, because my house is so small. I just only have so much storage space to put stuff.
I understand.
So a lot of people, without, a robust functioning digital strategy, I think you're just missing out potentially on millions of customers. And I think that proves out when you see the manga sales. Now, manga are producing on average better comic books than, let's say, like a Marvel or whatever, but they also just happen to have a much healthier, better digital strategy.
Have you read any manga? Who here has read manga?
I like
I've read manga. I
A
used to edit.
little bit.
I used to
Little
edit
bit.
manga.
What's are they good?
Yeah, a lot of them are
Yeah,
really
but-
good.
They've got superhero manga, but you've also got all kinds of slice of life. Like you have volleyball manga. You have manga
should-
almost for everything. But
I should
you
read.
know,
a
if you like
couple.
the X-Men, My Hero Academia is probably going to be your jam. If you like Incredible Hulk, you can go do, was it Kaiju number 8? There's a lot of different things going on there, but there's a way bigger variety.
Mike,
of,
there was a really good one, I think, called Crazy Food Truck. It's only 3 volumes. It's a complete story, and it's pretty short, and it's really well done, and it's fun. That's a rec from me.
Track.
Yeah, and that was given to me as a rec by 2 other aficionados, Carrie Nerdy Girl Creates and Yule Carter of Fantastic Comics. They on the same show. They were like, "You, Sully the chef, would love Crazy Food Truck." So it's like Mad Max and meets manga. It's really fun.
Mad Max. One Punch
Not
Man.
that I'm saying, and I know, I think most people understand this. I'm not saying that Marvel and DC should do everything that, Shonen is doing, or just completely
no.
copy and
No
ape the model. But there are things that they're doing that I think allow them to identify new consumers and go and get them and bring them into the market that Marvel and DC just aren't doing.
See,
Well, I think-
go ahead, Dylan.
I was gonna say a big part of that also is the fact that the anime is like a 1-for-1 reshot of the of the
Absolutely.
manga, and you don't have that with the comics. Like if you read Court of Owls and then you go and like, hey, let's watch the Court of Owls animated movie, and it's Batman versus Robin. Like, what the fuck even is this? This isn't even close to Court of Owls, or vice versa. If you watch the movie first and you go to the comic, it's not even close. Like, what is even the point of all this? To where manga and anime have that advantage, where if you want to, like, I watched some of Vinland Saga. I can't stand the anime, like, and so I'm like, I'm gonna read this because the story is interesting. I can read it. I don't have to deal with all the anime bullshit, and it's really good. I like Vinland Saga, but I couldn't stand watching it because I don't like the way the voice acting goes. But
I
hate that
think
stuff.
I think Dylan, I think you do have raise a very good point. The synergy between the two is really, really helpful. Now that being said, you're still dealing with something that while I appreciate the idea of trying to take and learn lessons from what manga is doing, the things that manga is doing work because the Asian culture is more open to sequential graphic storytelling than the Western culture. That's why it works. That doesn't.
But why are
that
more Americans reading manga than Marvel and DC?
They're the same people. They're the exact same people that are interested in graphic sequential art, regardless of what it is. All you have to do is make
Exactly.
But my point is that it is still a drop in the bucket for the population compared to Asia. You have large percentage of the Asian
Japan's
population.
the biggest market by far.
Yeah, but you have a large percentage. No, what I mean is the percentage of the Asian population willing to read manga or any graphic sequential storytelling is significantly higher than it is in
Yeah,
the
they're
Western
the biggest market. They had the most consumers for comic book stuff, but there are lots of consumers in America that are there for comic books, but they're not reading Marvel and DC. And what do they need? And what's it going to look like when this thing is actually healthy and rebounds? Because
and what it comes down to is a few things: solid storytelling, reasonable price point, and availability. That's what it does.
So healthy means the stories are good, the sales are high,
yes,
and people are coming in, like new readers are arriving.
Availability can also mean a return to magazine racks.
Yes.
Like I do this every once in a while, like such as yesterday. I made a quick video I was shooting the magazine racks. There's a spinner rack at the deli of my supermarket, and it's got Women's World, it's got People Magazine, it's got like a Nat Geo kind of offshoot, and I'm keenly interested in this stuff because periodical print publications are just a kind of an aspect of our hobby here, our love, floppies. So I look at things like cover price. I look at things like binding. I look at paper quality, and I'm like, where are the comic books? So sometimes, in my pharmacy store, they have like a quarter or a half an aisle dedicated to the old magazine rack concept. And they have paperback books on it. And they've got, Rolling Stone, they've got, GQ, the usual magazines. But there is a complete lack of funny books, of comics. And I specifically went yesterday to look because I saw this on Twitter. Someone had a picture of a $14.99 oversized Superman magazine special with reprints in it. And because with the movie coming out, some corporate syzygy, I was looking for this in the wild. And, it's a poor example. I went to 2 stores, but still it's like, I'm looking for this. I want to see something that's kid oriented on the lower racks where they're at eye level.
You think health is distribution outside of comic book shops?
Oh, yes.
The direct market is not the only solution. I mean, returning to
the only thing they got right
normies. But returning to where the normies go, I mean, that would be something at eye level with a smaller person.
The internet and the direct market both have the same problem. You have to already be looking for the product to get exposed to it. You can't, in the course of your daily life, unless it's through an ad on the internet, and everybody uses a fucking ad block, so you're not going to find out, comic book, while you're looking for fucking toast or toilet paper on Amazon to order. You're not going to end up with comic books staring at you in the face. But when you're at the grocery store and you're buying your meat and your toilet paper, that's when you get exposed to these things. So people need real world exposure in normie spaces, because the internet, to find something on the internet, you have to be looking for that thing. You don't get interested in things you aren't looking for because they annoy you because they're advertising.
I get lots of advertisements.
No, I don't.
Yeah, but they're having to pay for that. So if you're a small comic book and you're trying to get your comic book noticed, Facebook nerfs you, Twitter nerfs you, Instagram nerfs you because they want you to buy ads. They want you to pay them to put it in front of people. So they actually nerf the things.
That's why Marvel and DC need to lead the way, because they're not small and they do have marketing budgets.
Well, no, but here's the other problem. Facebook, Google, they're not going to want your ads because they want to keep you inside their walled garden. That's their current business model, is keep you on Facebook. So unless Marvel and DC or an Image as the big quote unquote big publishers are going to start hosting their comics on Facebook and not through their own thing, Facebook will Marvel, DC, and Image could buy ad space on Facebook or Google, and because their shit is not hosted through them and available on their platform, they will nerf your ad that you paid for. That's the problem. The internet 10 years ago you could have done this when there was less prevalent use of ad blockers and when the main sites of the internet weren't trying to keep you on their site permanently. Whenever they were just trying to sell ad space. When Google and Facebook were just advertising companies, now they're their own walled garden. They want to keep you there. So really, you have to already be looking for comic books to get comic books. People that don't read comic books aren't looking for comic books. They need exposure in places where they don't have a choice.
And what are you going to advertise anyway? What are you going to advertise? The only thing Marvel knows how to do is make a character gay, and then they're like, "Look at all this advertisement that we got." DC, hey, we made John Kent gay. Look, Tom Taylor, he's on CNN. He's everywhere. Look at all this exposure. Did that result in sales? No, it didn't. It didn't, because that's not what comic book customers are looking for.
It did for one issue.
It did for one issue, but that was just retailers responding to, oh, he's on CNN. We're probably going to have all these people coming in, because retailers are the easiest people to fool over and over and over again. They keep falling for the same tricks from Marvel and DC. But the problem is there's just less and less of them. Yeah, less and less of them. And, they're falling off because they don't have viable product to sell that customers want to buy. And
so here's the thing, Aaron. We were just talking about it needs to be out in the wild for people to discover in normie spaces. Penguin Random House is the distributor for Marvel Comics, the largest entity when it comes to American comic books. Penguin Random House certainly has a business relationship with Walgreens and Amazon and Walmart and all these places where they could definitely do versions of the comic books and put them out there on magazine racks, and they haven't done it.
No.
I'm assuming there's a reason for that.
Well, you won't believe this, but I saw a comic at Dollar Tree last year, and I picked it up, and I was familiar with the creators. And one company got into Walmart a couple of years ago. I forget the name of that company. It was Mitch Breitweiser's company, but their distributor screwed them and they went under because the distributor just said, well, we're not going to pay. What are you going to do about it? And there was nothing they could do about it. But the books were outstanding. They were just outstanding. It's a real shame that he didn't go through regular distribution channels because I think the books would have caught on.
Well, the other thing, like Penguin Random House, they're not going to do it. They don't have any impetus to do it. You can Dollar Tree, they did have some comic books in there, and that's great. And that's one of the things that when Solani and I were pitching to get the license for Darkwing Duck and for Gargoyles, and then eventually we would have tried to expand it outward from there. We wanted to do kids comics, and one of our strategies was we're going to sell graphic novels through the as like a pre-order system. We're going to complete it before we do it. It'll be done. It'll ship out. The way that Rippaverse does it, it's a completed book. You're basically doing a pre-order, not a crowdfund. Then we'll break it up into individual issues for the comic book store. Then we will print cheap, newsprint copies that we will send out to the dollar stores. And we actually had a robust plan in there to use some of the profits to take those, those cheaper versions and get them out to children's hospitals, get them out to pediatricians' offices for free with subscription information in the back and information on how you could find these books and how you could subscribe to them. We had a whole plan to kind of like get kids back into comics. But that's a long-term plan. And then Dynamite swooped in with their short-term plan of let's do everything the same way. We'll give you a big chunk of money up front and we'll put 80 covers, 80 Batman-inspired covers on a Darkwing Duck book, and we'll burn it out in 3 years and then we'll be out. They came in with the same plan that the industry does over and over again. And that's the one that Disney went for. So it's not even a matter of whether or not there's the will to do it. There's people that have the will to do it. There's people that are willing to publish and try to do innovative things to get them out there. But it's business as usual for the comic book industry. It's business as usual for a big corporation, because if you're Disney, at the end of the day, that's a drop in the bucket. It doesn't really matter. Get as much money up front and then get out, because you're not interested in building anything. You're maybe the person that's in charge is maybe there for 3 years before they're looking at jumping to another position.
Well, it does feel like Marvel and DC are stuck in the 90s and 2000s, and they really haven't evolved at all with the times.
Well, I think they're stuck in the 2000s, because if they were stuck in the 90s, they would have tried keeping prices reasonable and being in normie spaces. It was the 2000s where they abandoned all that shit. Look, okay, I know that DC did the Dollar Tree thing, and that's fine, except for that only works in urban areas. If they want that, look, and DC did the Walmart thing a couple of years back, and that's only Walmart's. So you picked the two worst possible places.
And
they didn't put them next to the checkout aisle. Well, they put them way in the back corner.
No.
Or they stuck
in the little collectible area, area that's a mess.
And you have it on shelves that are not designed to show off the product because they're not big enough and they're too deep. You need shallow shelves that are very tall to show off comics. So do you know where you would actually do very well?
Yeah.
There's two places that you can get access to almost every fucking normie.
I know what's
and
coming.
That is Dollar General for the entire central part of the country is Dollar Generals in anything outside of like hard urban areas. Every suburban, all the way out to rural areas, that's where they all shop. Dollar General. And
what's the other one?
7-Eleven. Or
no. Movie lobbies.
Oh yeah, movie lobbies.
Well, nobody goes to the movies anymore, Mike.
Yeah, that's the problem. Nobody goes. No, they missed that.
Plus, they got no money when they leave. They're like, oh, $115.
I know. And besides that, they've been talking about that for 30 years.
Yeah.
And some people even tried to do it. They just couldn't work out a deal with the theater owners. I think the theater owners would be desperate to work out a deal now to bring people in because there's still a large comic reading populace out there. And if they said, listen, your local comic shop closed down, come to the marquee.
Yeah. And you know what, honestly,
I'm throwing skins and access to free digital comics in Fortnite and Call of Duty and whatever the hot comic or the hot game is.
Exactly how many copies?
That's a good idea too.
How many, other than going to the store, only other than buying the comic to get the Fortnite skin, how many people do you think that bought that comic for that Batman comic for the Fortnite skin? How many people you think actually read that comic? I'm going to go with somewhere just barely north of zero.
So perhaps, but it was also a physical comic book, and these are people that were looking for a digital experience. And if you have the code and it takes you right over to the app, that you have to get a login, but then you can get your free copy of, Dark Knight Returns or whatever, issue 1. Maybe there's it makes people start using their phone and interacting with the actual app itself.
We've had David Hedgecock on here before, and David Hedgecock, he worked for IDW, but he was also the head of Ape when I worked for him, Ape Entertainment. He and Brent Irwin, and this is something that never got talked about, but for a while in the industry, the best-selling comic book was a comic book called Pocket God, and the reason it was the best-selling comic book is because they were selling it digitally in the Pocket God app. So if you were playing the Pocket God game, which was very popular at the time, there was little ads that would pop up where you could get and read the comic digitally on your phone, on your tablet. And so people were buying it. People were buying it in droves. So if you're going to do a crossover with Fortnite, why not have the comic advertised within the app where they can buy it and they can look at it digitally? Yeah, that is, that's how you're going to reach out to new people. You have to go into the avenues where people are. And people are not in the comic book stores anymore. Just being in the comic book stores does not help you. And it does not
People that are playing apps are used to microtransactions. It is a normal part of their day-to-day life.
Yeah, and but you have to sell it for under $2.
Yes,
yeah,
and you can.
It's a digital comic.
Yeah, I agree. But the problem is, and when you brought up Penguin Random House and why they're not really helping, because the books cost more than $2. None of the places that these things need to be want comic.
I'm go back to newsprint. I'm not even joking.
I'm not even joking either. You need it to get the price down so that it's impulse buy territory, and so that the stores that you need to be in will take it because they don't want it at $5. They do want, even though the $5 is a better profit margin,
right?
$2 is the impulse buy territory where more people buy it, even if they don't read it a second issue. That more people try it at $2 and sub $2. And that's really, a big factor in the health of the industry. You get over $2, you don't get people that aren't actively seeking comics to try comics because it's above $2. That's impulse. That is the psychological marketing number that everybody knows is where impulse buy stops and you start actually thinking about your purchase.
That's true.
And comics built an entire industry out of being impulse buys. They built themselves into existing in the form they are right now by being an impulse buy that every kid would fucking try. Even if they hated it and thought it was stupid, they'd try it once. And all they needed was a 2% adoption rate? Okay, how many kids are born in America every year? Maybe 10 million. If you get 2% of them,
200,000 a year.
There's 200,000 new readers every year.
With that, unfortunately, inflation has made $8 the new $2.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can kind of reverse engineer it. Now you need to know, like with paying people well, like paying creatives well, having the marketing budget, having whatever your profit margin is. You just have to figure out how many units you need to sell in order to hit the revenue generation number that you need to. And that might be,
you need the top 25 books to be over 100,000 again.
Yes, you probably do. Hell, you might need, in order to pay I'm not saying Jim Lee, but like a Jim Lee quality artist, a good wage where they actually want to be in comics, a Mike Barron, a guy who wants to be in comics, that isn't just using it as a stepping stone, that in order to pay them a good solid wage where they're able to live comfortably, solid middle class life, you might need to sell your top 20 books to sell 200,000 units, maybe. But
SB Card Fan in the chat has a great point that we've been talking about on this channel, and I've been talking about in my shops. He says any comic shop I've been to in the last 5 years is always trying to find new products to sell, and the comics continually get pushed to the side or the back. It's like that. It's taking up less and less real estate, and that's what happened in the shops that I was buying for. Is once you broke
they
down
go to the back corner, they
was.
go up to the second floor.
Yeah.
We had them right in the front, but like this, it just kept getting smaller until it was like, you know what, we can use this space for something else and make more profit.
The local comic shop here relies mostly on gamers.
Yeah.
Thank God for
The same way
Pokemon.
when I
Saved a
was
lot
in
of
San
shops.
Antonio.
Perch says it all the time. Pokemon saved a lot of shops in the last few years.
And a pack of
Before that, it was
Pokemon
Magic
cards.
Gathering.
Yeah, a pack of Pokemon cards or Magic cards, I think, are roughly equivalent to your $3.99, $4.99 cover price of a floppy these days. So what sells more? You have this disposable income. You have like your point of sales origin. You have your sales rack. Why are kids spending that same money on Pokemon cards than on funny books? Well, because the funny books aren't out there in normie spaces.
And they might get a card right away that they can trade back into the comic book store and get a bunch more comic packs or card packs. It's just a better value proposition.
Pokemon's more culturally relevant.
And it's something that kids are
My kids don't play the games, they just love the cards.
Yeah, there's a collector mentality to it, and comics used to have that, and it's lost it. And part of the reason that it's lost it is because everything is a new number one. Nothing. How would you even know what to collect anymore? Oh, you want to collect Captain
But Aaron,
America?
could Pokemon have created that collector mentality without having initially the users that were using it and playing it, and then it kind of created that, and it created value for cards that people wanted, right?
Well, I was working in a store when Pokemon first hit, and there were still kids that were just buying them because they thought they were neat and they liked the characters and they wanted to have the cards, and they put them in their little sleeves. They didn't care about the game. It's just like with our generation, it was garbage pail kids. You'd get the garbage pail kids, or or even before that, kids were collecting like Mars Attacks. It's like there was that thing of like get them together, and then they started making sleeves to put them in.
Come
and you
on,
could put them
baseball
in a book
cards, you nerd. I was looking for the Cal Ripken Jr. one, or the Billy Ripken Jr. That's a
I don't know what that. I don't know what that is, Sully. I don't know about your Calvin Ripco Juniors and your I don't know what
my Jose Canseco rookie card. You could breathe through his eyelid.
But I would like to ask this to Mike. Obviously, you've been in the industry a long time. You're on the creative side, but I imagine you've been around the business side, and you've had to think about marketing and everything. There's something culturally relevant right now outside of the MCU. It's what is it? Marvel Rivals. People love that. Why are they not promoting Marvel comic books through Marvel Rivals?
This is a mystery to me, and it's a mystery to me for the same reason that they don't prioritize entertainment, which is why people buy comics and go to movies. Exactly. They want to be entertained. But
they've almost gone to a complete collector mentality with their products, with all the variant covers and stuff, and not caring about the interior.
I think that a lot of people that have entered the comic book industry as gatekeepers, by which I mean editors and marketing people, aren't comic fans per se. They're into marketing, and a lot of them have a message they feel they have to deliver. But as Samuel Goldwyn said, if you want to deliver a message, try Western Union. Now, if you have a vital social message that's important, of course it's important, but there's a way to do it. And the way to do it is to entertain. I always point to Kill a Mockingbird and The Grapes of Wrath, which are two of the most important novels and entertaining novels that have ever been written, and were turned into huge hit movies that presented social issues in a way people appreciated. But because they did that with a vital, entertaining story that grabs you by the throat, you care about these people. You have to care about the people. You have to care about what happens before you turn the page. And you do that by giving people with whom the audience can identify. That's just one way. There are a million ways to do it. But entertainment is rule one. If you just follow rule one, everything else will fall into place.
I'm with you. I think it all starts with the quality of the product and the mentality that we want people to be desperate to get their hands on our book every single week, with the fear that it might sell out because it's that hot and people wanting to talk about the story. And they don't want to miss out when they get there. They call it, what do they call it? The car comic. When you get to the car, you immediately have to read it. You can't even wait to get home. The parking lot comic, I guess what it is. But I think we've kind of come up with 4 major things that would signal a healthy comic book market. And I don't think we're quite there or even close to it, to be completely honest. But number one, obviously, being good sales, healthy sales across the board physically, quality products. They need to be widely available, and then it needs to be a pipeline to new readers. And if I'm thinking about it, I don't think any of that's happening right now.
Except for manga. I go into Barnes & Noble frequently, and man, their manga section just dwarfs.
It gets bigger and bigger.
The Western comic section. And I see kids reading manga at the local universities.
Look at the difference in the display, though. Manga is all organized by volume. Easily, you could easily look at any manga and go, "Here's the first volume. I'll pick up these first 3 and I'll start reading." It's and I've only spent $30. It's all very well organized. It's all very well laid out. It's understandable. You go over to the graphic novel section; they're all different sizes. They're sticking out. The shelf looks like a mess. It's like everybody's got a different format. Oh, what is this?
Oh, the worst though, Aaron, is we've got 7 volumes of Punisher. 6 of them are the same, and the one in the middle, they moved like the Marvel logo to the top, and it's not uniform
that happens
anymore.
So much constantly.
God, that's so maddening for people that collect. I look at the omnibuses I have on my shelf, and when they change the cover dress, it's just like, what are you doing?
The spine needs to be uniform. What are you doing to me?
It's the chicken marketing. This is why you don't hire feminists, because they do that on purpose to make men mad. Only men care about this stuff. Come on.
I love the idea that there's one angry feminist rubbing her fists together.
Let's move it up to half an inch and see what happens.
Everybody it's going to drive them crazy. This is like, my boyfriend just lost it, and I just had a great time. I had to call my girlfriend.
It'll be like Stephanie Phillips, right? Like, I got into it out of spite. I don't even like comics, but I had a boyfriend that liked comics, and now I'm going to get in there and I'm going to move the logos around so that his shelf is, it just triggers his OCD.
Or all the spines are the same color. They're all black, and then the one in the middle is green.
Mm-hmm.
I have John Burns. I have all 9 volumes of John Burns Superman run, like the original trades before they re-released them. And the first volume doesn't have a number or anything, and it's just blue. And the rest are coded specifically and have a number. And so it looks like I don't have the first volume, and it pisses me off because of how it is on my shelf. It's so annoying.
Oh, no doubt.
I think I also wanted to use a parallel market, it's because our hobby. This is a very small niche market, and I look at vinyl record sales, like record stores. Now, records still sell. I mean, I just looked it up on Grok as of 2023, or projected now, they could be selling up to about 50 million records a year just in the United States, and these are in curated shops. You don't find.
But is 50 million really all that much?
50. Is
but
it? But it's a neat. But it's
that's a million
scale.
a state.
But that's in scale.
365 days.
Sure, but I mean in scale to your and to your hobby and to your interest. I mean,
that's a collector's market now, almost exclusively. Although some people rightly do understand that analog types sounds better than digital.
Sounds better, yeah. I mean, there's nothing in the world. Why is Injustice for All by Metallica a double album? Because they made the grooves bigger to hold all that bass and drums, man. It just sounds better. Of course, digital is going to be this huge, marketplace of like unlimited availability and selection.
But I want
then-
DC and Marvel to go up there and surpass manga. And when they talk about manga, they start talking about, but what about record sales? Manga's not doing too bad if you look at record sales.
No, I'm just using
You know,
it as a
and people are
parallel.
talking
Like
about Marvel and DC is like the big dogs out there. I want,
but those
the
are
American
those
industry to
music
do better.
heads, those music curators. Just keep buying. They're vinyl. They really do. I see it as is it unfair to parallel and just be like, hey, but these are fellow collectors, fellow hobbyists, and loving art.
But I think if you talk
to survive.
to somebody like in a used record store, they would prefer to be selling enormous volumes of the new stuff that made more money.
Boy, vinyl is making a comeback.
Well, yeah, because it's analog and it sounds better. I get that part.
But the record stores are now all used bookstores. That's where you can find your vinyl.
Right. And you get a visceral feel. You have cover art.
I know.
You have,
but that's the
curation.
niche market for guys like us. There needs to be that enormous nori market that is Apple Music for comic books.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for.
That's another problem. The music industry doesn't know whether to shit or go blind. I mean, back in the old day, you had these huge companies like Elektra and Columbia, and they were signing artists right and left. I mean, you look at the 60s and the 70s, they were signing any band that could play a decent song, and a lot of those bands turned out to be classic. But then again, the internet has upset everything. I mean, it's because of the internet that we no longer have a huge record market and a great diversity of music. There's a lot of diverse music out there, but the stuff that breaks through the barrier, that goes viral on the internet, some of it's good, but a lot of it isn't. And that's what they get behind. You watch the award shows, the Grammys and so forth, and you listen to them and you think, what the fuck? I mean
They
how
can't play their instruments.
Wait, hold on. People still watch the award shows?
I do, just for a facade of loathing.
No. It's a valid point. In a lot of ways, the music industry and the comic industry are the same. In that anybody can make an album now and put it on Apple Music. Get themselves on Spotify. They don't even have to have a fucking label. The problem is nobody listens to it, and it just creates. So while I love the idea of democratizing music the same way I love the same idea behind comics, it ends up, I think the music industry is in a position now where they're similar to comics. There's so much of it. A lot of the normie audience doesn't feel like sifting through shit. So they end up just going, if they buy an album, it's just going to be somebody they know and they like. And all those people are aging and we're all getting fucking old and dying. So none of the new, outside of one or two artists every so often, most of which are going to still be corporate made. Occasionally somebody that doesn't have a corporate, overlord is going to meet that level. But for the most part, they just end up, every 95% of the new creators end up wallowing in obscurity. Same way that 90% of the comics end up wallowing in obscurity, regardless of how good they are. And the publishers, the same way the music industry will accept the people that can just write whatever corporate approved song they want and force feed it to the public.
Yeah.
And that's who ends up being the stars.
I think it ended up being a pretty cool conversation, but we do have some thoughts from the viewers. Kalishi Oki says, because Western comics are filled with politics and agenda.
Not mine.
Not entirely wrong, but there's
read One World Under Doom.
Western comics. I thought you meant Westerns. Yeah, he's right. He's right.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It does take away from the enjoyment sometimes. But there was a time when that stuff was done much better. and with the deft hand.
Honestly,
And then he says, "You won't get that in manga." That's not true. There's definitely politics in manga, but it doesn't overwhelm it.
it also is not necessarily the stuff that makes its way to the Western world, the Western market.
Slowly turned his
Mr.
camera on just to die instantly.
Oh, he's
Sneezing
dead?
fit, dude.
As soon as he turned his camera on, he was just like slowly dying.
He was trying to hold a sneeze back. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, and he just exploded as soon as he turned his camera on.
There are
That was
boogers
great.
everywhere, man.
What did I
He
miss?
exploded.
You should have seen something. That was great.
Mr. DC Comics says one of the big differences between manga and comics are the battles and fights. Western comics do not focus on the battles, and that's where the fun's at. I kind of agree with this. A lot of times, it's not like you get the death of Superman, and the entire comic book is a fight essentially,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. It's visceral, and it's one of the coolest things Dan Jurgens ever done, and I really appreciate that. A lot of times now you'll get 2 pages of the action, and then you'll get a conversation after the fact that tells you how it ended. Like, fuck that, man. This is comic books, baby.
Well,
When I
Tom
was
Taylor prided himself on having John not punch someone when he was writing the main Superman book for like 8 issues. He's like, we haven't had John punch someone in 8 issues, and he was happy about that. It was like a point of pride. Like, this is a Superman comic.
That was a get the fuck out moment for most of us.
Who does he think he is? John
Ultraman
Hickman?
break
Yeah,
Jay Nakamura's arm, and then he gave him a hug.
yeah.
Well-
It was Injustice Superman. Yeah,
That
was-
Superman.
right.
Yeah, he went and gave him a nice hug.
One of the
But I did-
reasons. Well, I think one of the reasons for that is action panels take longer to draw and are more difficult. Most of the artists they're hiring, they're either not ready for prime time, or they're in such a rush to meet the deadline that they just
I
bypass
think the
it.
writers are thinking about it as like Game of Thrones. Our budget can't handle it.
Yeah,
Let's get
they're
some
writing
exposition
with a
going.
Netflix budget in
Yeah.
mind, both for the time and the effort and the talent level of the artist, as well as can this be filmed easily so I can possibly get a $5,000 check and an invitation to the red carpet where they will promptly ignore me afterwards and not.
Can
get
you
included
imagine
in the
having that
after party.
mindset as a writer, Mike, where you're like, oh, I want to scale down this epic moment because it might not translate to TVs or movies. You should be going, I want to make this so big. I want it to be incomprehensible how you could scale it down. It should be a challenge.
The story is the most important thing, and does it entertain? Fight sequences are important to me. One of the reasons I got into comics was to carefully choreograph the fight and use it not just for excitement, but for characterization too, because the way a person fights tells you a lot about them. Now, as far as it being beyond most artists, I don't believe that, because I'll go online and I'll find the technique I want, either in a video or in a picture, and I'll send that to the artist and say, watch this, do it like this, freeze it if you have to, break it up into 4 panels so we see the whole thing develop. So all the artist has to do is copy the picture. There are also a number of great artists who are martial artists, like Vale Myerick and Jeff Johnson, and the zombie guy whose name escapes me. He did all the Marvel Zombies covers. Oh,
Sean Phillips? Oh, no. I thought
Arthur
you meant the
Swidham.
interiors. Yeah,
Ron
Arthur
Garney,
Swidham.
also a big jiu-jitsu guy.
There you go.
So,
Yeah,
And,
the owner of Icon Collectibles, who does the Jiu-Jitsu fighters, he's a big, I think, Taekwondo guy, big martial arts
Great.
guy, and so he
Yeah,
created a
yeah.
whole comic based on that.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
I am
love
with
those
you, Mr.
comics.
DC Comics. The big final fight should take up at least half the issue. I don't care about the prologue. For some reason, that ends up being 2/3 of the issue is the fallout. Fuck that. You can tell me about the fallout in the next one. It should end on the crescendo, the high note. That is the ending of the conflict, in my opinion. Kleichi Oki says a small section of for comic books and GameStop would be perfect. I think they tried that recently.
They
and it
did.
didn't
Yes,
work.
Yeah, they
did.
did.
Failed miserably.
Promise. Yeah, I don't know how many people go to GameStop anymore. For games nowadays, if you don't know, if you go and get a physical edition,
You go to
buy it, you
Steam.
take it home, and you
And
open
then
it, and it
download
says,
it.
yeah, here's a code. Go download your game. It's not an
So- yeah.
actual like physical edition anymore.
It's-
Or you put the disc in, and it's like, all right, now you download. not
Yeah,
an actual just plug and play anymore.
It's just digital. Video games are now digital with more steps.
Yep.
Man, can you imagine that? You go to GameStop, you pick up your Action Comics, you get home, and there's a code to enter into your tablet so you can read the comic book.
It would be like going to the comic shop. Well, it is like going to the comic shop, buying the physical edition, just so, but except for it just has empty blank pages in it, so that you could go home and enter the code into the same app that you would have just bought it from. It's literally that meme of the guy doing a kickflip to land on a rake.
I'll be right back. Try to carry on without me.
Roger that. MH hashtag Comics Invictus. On an impulse whim, I was ready to subscribe to Rebellion 2080 digital service for unlimited Judge Dredd, but I couldn't tell what I was getting for the price, and they lost me. Back to Shonen.
Ooh, really?
Well, that is a problem with the digital sphere, where you don't know. They don't make it clear what is.
Nothing more annoying. You're like, what do I get with this again? Is that full access? Is it limited access? Well, what
am I going to
with
get it 3 months later? Is there going to be random missing issues to force me to go out and buy a trade because I can read the first, second, and fourth part of this arc, but not the third for some inexplicable fucking reason?
Yeah. Man, I read a comic book recently, Aaron, that was very Judge Dredd-esque. It was called Robo-Wolf. Mm-hmm. And if you like those really awesome, like Brian Boland illustrated Judge Dredd comic books from back in the day, I would suggest that to you, sir.
Did you read I want to check that out. That sounds amazing. I've never heard of that before. So thank you for bringing that up. I want to read Robo-Wolf now. Also, I love Brian Boland. I still think he draws the best Joker in the business.
Well, I mean, the artist isn't quite Brian Boland. Let's be honest. But it's reminiscent. The bar is
reminiscent. I thought you were telling me Brian Boland was drawing it, but I'm still interested.
No.
By the way, my girlfriend and I watched Dredd the other day. It was the first time she'd seen it.
Wow.
She loved that fucking movie and was really pissed off when she found out that the internet's been trying to force the studio to make a second one for like a decade now, and they're still not doing it.
Supposedly we were getting a TV show there for a minute.
How can this not happen? They waste so much money on so much trash. Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. How has Amazon just not thrown some money at Dredd? I mean, I understand Jennifer Selke probably thinks it's too toxically masculine, which is why she passed on the Conan show, and then that guy went and did Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon and made HBO a bunch of money. I just don't understand, man.
Is she the chicken marketing that's ruining the spines of a collections? This one?
She is. Dredd is so good.
Right.
And that's okay. So Doc's girlfriend liked it. My friend Marie liked it. My friend Daphne liked it. Your wife loves it. Like, look, it appeals to women. And you know what it's got in it? It's got a hyper masculine hero. It's got a female character that women can get invested in. And it's just balls to the walls. Like, look, you just make the thing.
Oh, he says Amazon's doing Dredd with Carl.
I hope
that was a rumor.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was solid.
And to be honest, until I get a release date and they're already in production, I don't believe them.
Yeah, that's true. That one's been start and stop, but that Dredd movie is great.
It is. It's fucking dope.
Check out Robo-Wolf. Surprise comic book, absolutely hilarious, really funny, over-the-top one-liners, and some insane violence. Sigma Comics, HH says,
Robo-Wolf?
Chat days, think different ad signal the return of Steve Jobs and Apple's makeover. We need a Steve Jobs. Got to think outside the box. We're at 250. Speaking of HH in Sigma Comics and Do Manga, we're absolutely killing it.
Again, you're at the price point.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the price point where people try stuff.
Yeah, and HH tries stuff. And that's really the difference between the indies and the mainstream is, you got some indie guys that are just out there following the same old pattern because that's what they know. But you do have guys like HH who are out there trying new things. And I think that like once we have enough pages to do it, I'm gonna do Doomface as a manga. I'm gonna, we're gonna play with the files. We're gonna move things around. We're gonna tell the story backwards. It's gonna be black and white. Renzo's art already lends itself to that, and we'll sell a manga as well to capture that audience. Why the hell?
The Calico mangas look amazing, by the way.
They are, yeah. He sells out every time he puts them out. He can't keep them on his table. Seriously.
And by the way, I mean, look, I love what HH and Sigma Comics are doing with Here Comes Calico, but they're not really breaking new ground here. They're just doing shit that everybody knows works, that everyone else got too retarded to continue doing.
But Doc, doing what works is breaking new ground in the current.
I know, apparently so. Like, hey, when you know something,
Doing
like
the
it's
smart
like,
thing.
yeah, when you're doing something that is a time-tested, effective way of selling things.
It's a proven model.
Yes, it's a look. I mean, the comics industry, the entertainment industry, the film industry, television, video games, all of them have come up with they're so new and so different. It's such an idea, such a smart, well thought out idea that and it's so fucking retarded that only an intellectual could come up with it.
Yeah.
So true.
But couldn't agree with you more, HH. And I'm glad that you guys are doing well and you're taking a much needed break. Federico de la Casa, I'm pissed because I was collecting all the masterworks and I've read they stopped producing. The niche became too tiny and they're the first casualty. That does suck. I think it's stopping at is it 367 volumes or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
The Marvel Masterworks were great for.
Love them.
It's a great run for any kind of publication, though. Oh,
yeah. And they don't do the I don't even think they do the Essentials line anymore.
They got the Premier line now, which is their compact comics, but it doesn't tell you what it is in the name at all.
And also, they're reusing a name that they had for 6-issue hardcover that came out before the trade paperback came out, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
whatever all the
and it's not quite manga size; it's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's just a little bit bigger because of why have something that matches everything else on your fucking bookshelf? These people can't even keep the spine design right from one omnibus to another. Why would they ever think, hey, we're going to do something that'll match your existing bookshelf and look good on it, even though it's our product? Oh no, our stuff now might get lost in with all your manga. Fucking retards.
It's the chicken
Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. Have you guys heard about the Death Raider fiasco on Indiegogo? Looks like Rob Hunter took the cash meant for the project and used the money on personal expenses. People were already waiting 3 years for the book.
Yeah,
I saw the message, and people are pretty upset about it. It sounds like he did the wrong thing. I personally hope that it was an accident. I don't know.
It was. Rob had the best intentions, but he made the wrong assumption. It was that he could live off the proceeds of the book and he would make enough to publish the book, but he couldn't.
Yeah, my view on it is, so take Kneel Before Doomface, for example. Every dime that we collected has gone into the book. Or some product that we're offering to the customer. It's gone to pay Renzo. It's gone to pay Oscar. I have not profited at all off of that book yet. It's a long-term play. My profit off of the book will be in the future as I continue to sell it at conventions. As I have it on my table, I can reprint it forever. That's the way that I'm looking at it. None of that money was to finance my life, so that I could stay home and, it would pay my bills. That's not what it's for.
Exactly.
You're taking that money to produce the book. And that's what we did. Everything is being poured into it. And anything that is left over goes into cover the costs of doing the second book, getting that off the ground so that we can offer that to you. Eventually what I want to do is I want to get to the model where I'm not crowdfunding it. We have a completed book and we're going right to market with it. So within a month, Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to do it. It takes a little while to get there for some of us, but that's the goal is, I want to continually produce books and I want to have them on a regular release schedule so that you guys don't forget the story before you get the next chapter, so that you guys stay interested. I want to build it like the Iconic guys are doing, with Common America. They have a steady release schedule and, their campaigns build and build and build. Yeah. Once people realize that, people that are hesitant, once they realize you're committed to delivering and there's a back catalog that they can jump in on, they do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sucks. I mean,
yeah,
I don't understand how he thought $30,000 is going to fund his life, but
especially over 3 years, because the longer you take to produce your book, I mean, now that's $10,000 a year over these 3 years. And that's like, it's bad business sense. I mean, I'm no one to talk about with that. I'm just a reader. But I do know basic math. I did take junior achievement for 2 years in high school. So I do know that, these funds were meant to produce, fabricate, and distribute the book,
So, Sully, I know you still back a lot of projects on Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
He backed mine.
Personally, I've got 2 projects that are still owed to me that I don't think I'm ever going to get. And just overseas shipping makes them cost prohibitive for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of bowed out a long time ago.
Right.
Does this stuff give you a hesitation to back new brand?
Maybe. I mean, it seems like the marketplace has cooled off a little bit in the past couple of years. I mean, there is like the drama.
Mike Barron just made $150,000. He seems to be doing all right.
He's a prolific writer, though. He's got.
Yeah, but he's going to have to pay for the production and shipping of the Nexus thing. He didn't make $150,000.
I have to point out this is the highest any of my campaigns has ever gone.
Well,
I mean, Mike, I want to ask Mike: do you have a Tonkabon manga style format that you can spring on us for Nexus? I mean, to get Nexus in the hands of kids. That would be great if you had like a simple black and white manga style of it. I mean, it's
an interesting idea. That's a very interesting idea. But Steve Root is a tough act to follow.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I backed Death Raider. I think about 2.5 years ago. I was impressed with the art. I would never have known about this project if it wasn't platformed on bigger channels. And I think this is actually a really good wake up call to the culture to shake off these blues and get your books out. And that the best way to avoid this kind of criticism is to prove them wrong, get your books out, deliver on the promise. And maybe it was maybe he's Mr. Hunter saw like a bad example that like, hey, you can live off your proceeds and just. No, you can't. Not when you're a small creator. This is more of a junior achievement thing that you have to, produce and get it out there too. And then, hopefully it catches, and hopefully you get that sequel, and hopefully you get that second printing. I mean, isn't that the goal?
Hopefully Rob's able to work things out and deliver the book. But
yeah, but you know what? I'll say this much about the experience. I'm a blue collar tradesman, and I love crowdfunding books because I love art. And this makes me a patron of the arts, literally, that I'm putting in my hard-earned money to get art produced. This makes me feel like a rich Venice, tradesman in the Renaissance age. We're going to give money to this dude named Da Vinci. He's going to paint. We're making art. And I'm part of that process. So I'm still.
I think the only book I've ever backed that I still don't have is I backed a book called Island 19: A Tale of the Bermuda Triangle. I backed it in 2020. So it's now been 5 years. And the last update was on October 23rd, 2024, where best news ever, the books are ready. The books have arrived. I'll be mailing all copy and merch in the next few weeks. So I've never seen an update after that.
I have so many.
Okay, well, we won't want every horror story. We got our information out there, fellas.
We don't have
Julio
time.
Gonzalez, Action Comics 1084. I was ready for a battle, and Superman and the Forevers had a chat. F me.
So that's John Ridley. I didn't read that because it's John Ridley.
I haven't been reading it either.
I mean,
don't if it's got John Ridley's name on the cover, don't buy it. It's really that simple.
No, I mean, you know what you're getting with John Ridley. It's like coming out of a whorehouse crying that you just didn't feel loved. Like, you know what you're getting when you go in.
Oh,
Yeah, except for here's the thing. At least at the whorehouse, you're still getting sex. With John Ridley, you're barely getting a comic book.
That is fair.
What is going on here?
oh, StreamYards has been funky for the past couple
Oh,
of
it's
days.
been
Watch
weird.
out.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Funk
And finally,
me.
Nerd says, I don't know why you guys don't like interior variants. I wanted to do that with my comic just because it was tried by idiots doesn't mean it's bad.
Doesn't
You
that
know what we
mean-
need? I'm going to do a choose your own adventure Doomface comic where depending on the choice you make, I tell you which volume you have to go buy. And there's just 16 volumes, but like depending on your choices, you could only buy one to get the story.
You get 16 different
Sully loves
issue
interior
number
variants.
2,
Oh,
and then 256 issues number 3. It's and then I don't know what the fucking
I mean,
next power of 16 is.
it-
Lot.
I do want to do a choose your own adventure cover.
That would be
Like,
fun.
Decide
That sounds
your doom.
decide your doom. Decide
Choose
you will
your
heal
doom.
or not.
No, you got to go with alliteration, Doc. It's got to be like decide your doom.
Well, and then he says interior variants work like director's cuts. All the key moments are there, but there are extra moments or extended scenes or black and white and color. They already do that stuff. They
Yeah,
have black and
yeah,
white
they
editions, and they certainly have like the collector's
The-
edition
and
with all the
Marvel-
sketch pages and stuff.
Marvel did director's cut versions of a lot of books for like 10 straight years. Young Avengers #1 had a director's cut. New Avengers had a director's cut. A lot of these books have
If you're
director's
buying the current like colored editions of The Walking Dead, there's all kinds of extra information and materials in those books too.
But is there extra art? Because that art costs money, and most publishers aren't in a position to commission 2 different versions of the interiors.
Oh, there
Mhm.
might be
That's the
some
big difference.
extra pages.
Yeah.
Feels too
But-
gimmicky for me personally, but to each their own.
Yeah.
and as being the one person here that like really does contribute to the red band stuff, I only did that once, and that was for Blood
Well,
Hunt,
once was
and I'll
enough,
never live
Sully.
it down.
To stain
I'll
your
never live
reputation
it
forever.
down.
Yeah, you did it on the first one too.
Well,
So
I was the collector's value. That was literally something I was going for as
He got
the
FOMO.
speculator
And
thing.
couldn't
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
FOMO'd.
If I should have gotten the red band polybag variant covers because I didn't know they even existed. Some of those covers were outstanding.
God,
But-
silly.
I mean, but seriously, I've been reading a bunch of the red band.
Well, what about the
books.
one with the hologram card that you missed out on?
I
Maybe you
love
should have
those
got that one too.
Ooh, but I mean, the red band thing is moot. I mean, it's a failure as a publishing initiative. It doesn't even live up to its own.
Except for they're
reputation.
still fucking doing it.
Well,
I know.
speaking of that, we do have Frank Castle's return as Punisher coming in a red band book from Sully.
Mhm,
Segued
I'm looking
there
forward to
pretty
that.
hard.
I'm gonna look for a
And-
variant.
In fairness, they're only doing this as red band.
Yeah, no, I got that. It's like their Max series or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like their new Max
Why
line
not
or
just
whatever.
have Max again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dylan, you are very, very emotional about this subject. You do not like what Jason Aaron and Marvel Comics did to Frank Castle when they try to relegate him to the sideline, change his logo, basically retcon that he was a serial killer since the age of 8, that his wife hated him, was leaving him, taking the kids, sold all of his stuff. And we had all the Avengers, pointing their finger at him and all that kind of stuff happening in there. And then they send him off to Weird World, trying to replace him with Joe Garrison. That didn't work. And now they're bringing him back. And you're not sold that this is going to be great?
No, because Ben Percy is hit or miss for me. I think he can do good. And also Marvel even screwed up the initial announcement because they're like, it's a 5-issue mini. And then Percy came out and was like, it's an ongoing. So Marvel even messed that up. Doesn't even know what it is. And also it seems like their plan is because we got the synopsis and we got some preview pages is to not even really retcon anything or address what happened. They're just like, Punisher's got amnesia. So we don't want to touch what Jason Aaron did. We're just gonna act like that didn't really happen. We're not gonna touch it at all. But it's like that did happen. You completely humiliated the character and did whatever you could to ruin him. And now you're gonna come back and be like, he's got amnesia, so we don't even remember all that. Also, as far as it being red band, I think it's cool that we've got, it's essentially Max. I don't like that it's in a polybag though. I don't like that it's because they have Marco Cacchetto on covers, which is cool. But Julius Ota, who I think is a good artist, is on interiors. But if you have like a sort of just standard comic book fan that doesn't know a whole lot, that's like very just casual, comes in and can't flip through the pages, like, oh, Marco Cacchetto is the guy on the cover, that's what the interior is going to look like. Sick. I can't open the comic to look at it because it's in a bag. I'll buy it. Then you open it and the interiors look way different than the cover. That's kind of crappy in my opinion. But yeah, I hope it's good. I think Percy can do good work. It sounds like he's very excited about Punisher. I just find a lot of times with Percy kind of loses steam. Like the first about dozen or so issues of Wolverine was really good. Then it kind of, and then I found the same thing with his Green Arrow Rebirth run, where like the first 10, 12 issues were pretty good. And then it kind of lost steam. So hopefully you can keep the quality with this Punisher book. I will definitely be reading it. I like the creative team, but I don't know if I have the most faith in it. We'll see. Also, Marvel editorial didn't catch, because I won't blame Cacchetto for this. He's just an Italian guy, but he's firing a 9mm Uzi and there's rifle casings coming out of the Uzi. So it's,
oh my goodness.
How does editorial not catch that? You think editorial would just be like, hey, this is wrong.
You're expecting a European to know fuck all about guns.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Cacchetto doesn't know, but editorial should be like, hey, this is wrong. Like, I get Cacchetto not knowing, but
there's no Elliot R. Brown there anymore. There's no Elliot Brown to be like, no, here's what the gun looks like.
Elliot was a great artist.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, he did the Punisher Armory. Yep. I have several issues, and he researched all the hardware that the Punisher used. Because if we got the hardware wrong, we would hear about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you had all those great schematics and things that he did for other, it's like, oh, the Marvel Handbook, you need a breakdown of the Avengers compound. Here it is from Elliot Brown. He just just a great draftsman. Miss his influence. There's so many guys whose influence I miss at Marvel Comics. What the hell happened?
I always wanted to know if Elliot actually had gone to school for mechanical drawing.
Oh yeah, I think
was that what his background was? I don't know. I mean, I was always curious because it looks like that's where he would have done very, very well, and he used it in the coolest way possible.
Yeah, he was like, I want to do comics. I want to take all this and I want to do it in comics. Let me get my T-square on my drawing board.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna. Yeah. Oh man, great stuff.
I'm looking forward to it. I really, and I'm looking for that Mike Zeck variant cover already. I'm gonna tell my local comic book shop, can you order that for me, please? Because I am interested in checking this out.
You're saying that Sully's saying that Deadpool Wolverine by Percy's pretty good. I haven't read it because I can't stand Deadpool. I'm so over Deadpool as a character.
Ben Percy is doing two really good books right now, Red Hulk and Deadpool Wolverine, and both of them lovingly, wonderfully, they piss all over the Bechdel test. There are no women talking to other women about not men or eating over. There are no conversations over supper. It's all wall-to-wall action and with men superhero and poses and shit.
Well, remember,
isn't it funny that we launched the Red Hulk series and we launched the Captain Falcon, a lot of different things book at the same time to tie in with that god awful movie, but we're actually getting a decent Red Hulk book out of it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Captain Falcon still trash, but at least we're getting a good Red Hulk book out of it.
Remember though, Ben Percy is also the one that thought that the adamantium surfboard was a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all they're not everyone.
That's what I'm saying. He's hit or miss.
I mean, I'm not a fan of his Punisher. I mean, of his Predator versus Spider-Man. That's also ongoing. I think I'm not liking that.
His Predator versus Wolverine was good though. Those was fun 3 issues.
That was pretty fun, yeah.
But we'll see what he can do with Punisher. It sounds like from what I've been reading, like the interviews and stuff, it sounds like he really likes Frank a lot. Like he's been looking forward to this. Apparently it was like pitching to Marvel. So at least he's got hype for the character. At least it's not someone that's just been relegated to this book that doesn't care about Punisher at all. Like say a Jason Aaron, who it seems just wanted to tear him down. At least it seems like
actually hates the character because of his own personal politics.
Because they couldn't get Tom King to write Punisher. Imagine Tom King's Punisher.
That's right. We'll go with the next best thing, which is Jason Aaron. Why are all these like it's just such depressed sad sacks? That it doesn't even seem like they're excited to be working in comics.
It's the chicken marketing. You think I'm kidding? It's the chicken marketing. It's always her fault. She wants to take the power away from the male characters, force them to share their power, their legacy names, and mess up the spines on your masterworks. So the man can be eternally frustrated. They get joy out of this. They get their jollies off it. It's always the chicken marketing.
I like that. I like whatever Sully says. Marketing. The chicken marketing.
Don't be a snap ahead. It's the chicken marketing.
Are you from Boston?
I'm Wicked Pisser, kid. I'm from Boston.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
right before we came on, he got into a fight at a Dunkin' Donuts. You know,
I ordered a large regular, and you put Splenda in this.
What'd you say about Ben Affleck?
Casey's the real talent in that family.
Best part of my days when I'm at Dunkin'. You think that's sad?
Chowder, it's chowder.
I took my car to Harvard Square.
Park your
I used
car
to
in
live
Harvard
in
Yard.
Boston.
You get told. You did. You live. I love. See, we can't talk about music in front of Mike Barron because he is a total music head, and I love the
I'm not going to
conversation.
knock anyone. I love music. You know, that's
pissed
why
everybody off
I'm
with my
aware of the
takes on
current
vinyl.
music situation.
Mike,
Every year I
someday.
say it, and every year it's true. This has been one of the greatest years in pop rock history. You
Mhm.
just never know it reading the so-called music press or watching the award shows.
So getting back to the Fink Castle returning as Punisher, we talk about what they're going to do with him, where he's returning with no memory and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. That
I mean-
just seems like their get out of jail free card to be like, we just won't talk about the Jason Aaron stuff. He doesn't remember any of that.
Now,
Well, you know what? Nobody should remember it. They should have Mephisto make a deal with him where he's like, none of that happened. All you got to do is, all Peter Parker's got to do is give up his marriage again.
see,
Get
it also,
married again and then give it up so that we erase that Punisher run.
when you buy the Frank Castle Punisher #1, it comes packed with a hammer, so you can give yourself a severe head trauma and forget about the Jason Aaron run as well.
Before reading this book, strike yourself in the temple.
Yeah, they give a precise diagram of exactly where to strike yourself in the
know.
brain so that you forget about that run.
My biggest fear of this book that's upcoming is that it's going to be a 6-issue mini, and he's not even going to put on the regular logo until the end of issue 6. I mean, that would just.
Well, he doesn't already have it in the preview pages. I'm pretty sure, like in the
Ooh.
first 3 pages, he's got it already
That
on.
would be great.
Yeah, he's already got it in the preview pages. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you.
And then you
Dylan.
find out that
Yeah.
the preview
'Cause-
pages are for issue 6.
Yeah, because he like wakes up in blood, just having killed a bunch of people. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I just know that my Uzi's empty and I killed everyone, and that's where it starts.
More like Punisher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Medios Res, that works, man. Let's just give him his logo, give him his guns, his van. Yeah, give him Micro if you want too. Is he still dead?
I had this terrible dream that my wife came back from the dead and I became a samurai. Thank God I just killed some bad guys.
And then I got
Must have
lectured
got
by Captain America again.
You just find out that everything that's happened since where that they've fucked with him, like where he randomly became War Machine for 5 minutes and where he's a samurai and all this other shit, all that has been a result of the coma that Captain America put him in after kicking the shit out of him back in Civil War.
That's a good way to go.
It's all
True.
hallucination.
If only.
So-
That's the problem with the Daredevil tie-ins, though, because him and Daredevil just went to war, so you can't do all that. That's the thing that sucks.
Yeah, well, we want to forget most of Daredevil since
Devil's Reign?
around
Once the
basically-
hand stuff started happening, yeah.
No, Shadowland. Basically, since Shadowland, we want to forget like 85% of Daredevil since then. And the last time it was good consistently. I mean, yeah, the Chip Zdarsky stuff was all right, but outside of that, Brubaker.
Yeah. So Dylan, Ben Percy did say that this was going to be the most violent Punisher book of all times, which I think is going to be pretty difficult because I remember recently people getting skinned alive in a Punisher book. That felt pretty violent.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. A lot of stuff happened in that Max Garth Ennis run. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard
How do
to
you top
match
Garth
that.
Ennis? Garth Ennis had Nick Fury strangle a guy with his own intestines. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Garth was
It's
a
hard to
little
top
harsh.
Ennis.
Yeah, it's gonna be. But hey, that's a tall order. But if he wants to try it, I'm all
I
for
think-
Well,
it.
he said
I
that
think the
Wolverine
characters-
Sabretooth War was going to be the most violent Wolverine story of all time, and he did like cut up that his son and have, spell happy birthday with his body parts.
It's not
He's still getting
necessarily
over that.
not necessarily a selling point. This question is the story vital? Does it grab you by the throat? And no pun intended.
Yeah, the Sabretooth War thing was when it was just gory at parts for the sake of being gory
Yeah.
when it wasn't Victor Laval preaching about something.
Mm-hmm.
That fucking Sabretooth War
Dude.
sucked.
Oh, don't remind me. I bought all
Yeah.
10 of them. What a waste of $80.
So it
Yule
started out
says they
interesting
needed-
enough, and then
I agree. Yule says they need to bring back Barracuda. Didn't they announce like a Barracuda book 3 years ago?
Yeah, and then it never happened. I think Goran Parlov was supposed to do it,
Yes.
and it.
They probably still have it.
Guys, I got to fade.
Oh, really?
Well, okay.
All right.
Mike, thank you so much.
Let the record show this is the longest I've remained on a live stream in history.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I
This
definitely
is
appreciate
amazing.
it.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
Mike.
me.
This is great.
And definitely
Cheers, man.
support Mike's Nexus Omnibus Volume 1, fully funded on Kickstarter right now. There's a link in the video description. Anything else that you want to say before you head out, Mike?
Always bring a hat.
Always bring a hat. It's good advice. Especially if you're Sully.
Everybody needs to wear sunscreen.
I have to wear a hat in the show because Aaron and I would look like twins.
Speaking of product, Wes, don't we have a sponsor this week?
We do have a sponsor, but I wanted to finish the Frank Castle stuff. If we got anything else to say, does anybody believe that Marvel is just going to about face and all of a sudden,
Yes,
finally
because
feature the local and let him be Punisher again?
I think yes, because maybe it's the whole comics are getting better, and I'm very pleased with. There's a whole bunch of Marvel comics out there that I'm really tuned into. Red Hulk.
Oh, really? What are they?
Regular
I would
Hulk.
love to hear this.
Red Hulk, regular Hulk, Eddie
Red Hulk
Carnage.
miniseries, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe you'll get a second life.
No.
Maybe because hey, it's pretty interesting. Eddie Brock Carnage, however long that goes. Let's see, the Ben Percy's Wolverine Daredevil is pretty fun. Philip Kennedy Johnson's Incredible Hulk I've been buying every month for over 2 years now. Let's see,
You made it
Ultimate
to
Black
4.
Panther. Ultimate Black Panther is
like one
peak.
ongoing in there.
Ultimate Spider-Man's pretty good. I'm up to 6. I mean that's if that's 6 books that's in my pull list that I'm buying.
Out of
You know
80,
what I mean?
out of
Sure,
almost
I mean,
90 books. That is
dude, a lot of books are not made for any of us. Like New
7%.
Champions, holy jeez. Avengers Assemble Academy, my God, New Champions are awful. That there's the Marvel Pride book this month. I mean,
my,
there's Phoenix,
my
Spider-Gwen.
point is
Oh,
that is 7% of their output.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Marvel's not in a good spot. For me, there were 4 Marvel books I was enjoying, and only one was an ongoing. I like Ultimate Wolverine, I like Hellhunters, I like Aliens versus Avengers, and Incredible Hulk. And Hellhunters is over, Aliens versus Avengers is limited, Ultimate Wolverine's limited, isn't it? So Incredible
I
Hulk's
think
like
it was
the only-
announced at limited, but it looks
That-
like maybe it's ongoing now.
That is just shy of 4.5%. Of
Yeah,
Yeah,
Marvel's
that's all I'm
output.
saying. Like Marvel's not doing good.
Yeah, like
Marvel's rough
when
right
you're
now,
dealing with
unfortunately.
single digit
DC's
percentages
good.
of your product line, that's good.
What are you guys
That's-
talking about? Phoenix 12 came out this week. You guys
Oh
aren't excited about
yay!
Phoenix
And nothing
12?
happens.
And I think I think that's the last issue because
Yeah.
I don't think it was
God.
solicited. Oh,
Really?
but if you could go read Scott and Jean's love story through the eyes of Jean while talking to a dead space dragon thing in
All right. Don't
or-
spoil
well-
the book too much, Doc.
not talking to, thinking at a dead space
Very nice.
dragon.
Sparrow did mention that today's live stream is sponsored. Definitely want to give a big shout out to Unholy Night number 2. Congrats to Drew and the team. successfully crowdfunding that one, and we do have a little promo here. Aficionados is proudly sponsored by Unholy Nightmare #2, the explosive, terrifying new chapter in one of the most badass indie horror action series out there. Fully funded in just 5 days, and issue 2 is already 100% complete. It goes to printer as soon as the campaign closes on July 6th, so there's no waiting around for your book. And don't miss the killer add-on, The Golem, a 10-page origin story co-written by our very own Drew, aka Dolan Waddick, and Aaron Sparrow, with interior art by future superstar Vudon. It's a must-read bonus to an already stacked campaign. Drew's track record speaks for itself. He's delivered over a dozen crowdfunded comics on time or early every single time. So head over to Kickstarter and back Unholy Nightmare #2 today. Scan the QR code now or click on the link in the video description. Aaron, I love the picture that I got with Drew, like with his hand out. I thought it was great.
I like your ominous music in the background of your promo there. Like, well, way to up the production value, my friend.
I'm just trying to add a little bit of, a little flavor.
Yeah.
Even though it's a horror book.
I feel like I want to sponsor an episode of Aficionados, but I have no idea what I would do.
You do have a YouTube channel, Doc, with 3 videos.
I know. One of them
gladly point people to that.
One of which is me sawing a frozen copy of Iceman in half with a sawzall.
See, that's
very
what
apt for the book. And we do have some people's. Let's hear from Wraith X7. The big two made a huge mistake when they stopped making most of the Marvel Universe and DC Universe comics suitable for and appealing to all ages in favor of aiming at most of them at teens and adults. I agree 100%.
You know what? I don't entirely agree. Marvel's fare, especially starting in the 70s, really was generally always targeted towards teen. Kids,
most books nowadays are targeted to people in their 30s.
Yeah,
or
now they're targeted to people with their 30s. But Marvel was always a line that targeted.
It's a more mature brand. I agree.
Yeah,
but it was available to children, especially the major titles.
Well, kids want to feel like they're older, right? So like they gravitate towards teen fare. That's what captured me. And that's how I kind of got, and then I got really into like Bill Willingham's Elementals because it seemed like it was for adults. As a young teenager, I was like, this is great.
Exactly. Like I'm 8 years old buying Frank Miller's Daredevil around issue 174, 175, and 176 for 50 cents. Off the spinner rack. There's death, there's maiming, there's ninjas, there's bloodshed. This is not made for a 9-year-old child.
Sally's like,
it's really not Frank Miller.
He had sex with a lady.
But there's no reason to make a Wonder Woman comic book that an 8-year-old girl can't pick up.
Yeah.
And
you don't think
there's no reason to have Tom King writing a Wonder Woman book.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have Tom King.
We're not trying to make him depressed. And there's so much cursing and stuff nowadays. But I wholeheartedly agree with Wraith X7. I think that once they decided that they were only going for that older audience, that certainly has more of a collector mentality, rather than having it open to that new audience to come in and pipeline them in, become the new readers, become the new older audience, I think was a huge mistake.
Yep.
Mr. DC Comics, are Marvel and DC characters forever to be boomers and Gen Xers? When do millennials and Gen Z generations enter comics? What's the difference between Gen X and millennials?
That's the generation we lost.
There's a lot of difference between Gen X and millennials.
Well, it said Gen Z and millennials. There's also a lot of difference between Gen Z and millennials. Gen Z apparently is like the most conservative generation in history.
Mm-hmm.
In history?
In history?
In recent history.
Apparently. Yeah.
American
history.
Like in American history, yeah.
So the Gen Xers stop at what, the end of 1980? And Gen Z kicks in, what, 90 to...
Gen Xers stop around like 81 or 82, depending on
here's the thing.
Okay.
Most of the new characters created in the last 10 years are Gen Zers. And they're whiny bitches.
I'm thinking he's talking about the audience, not the characters. No, he
Well,
doesn't.
no, it was
No,
our
he's talking about the
Marvel and
characters.
DC characters forever to be boomers and Gen Xers.
No. You got to go read Marvel New Champions.
Yeah,
They're all Gen
there's like
Zers.
30
Or
millennial
better yet,
characters.
don't.
No,
Or better yet,
No,
no.
they're Gen Zers. The character age, they're Gen Zers.
Yeah, it's
And
weird. They're not really
they all
aimed at Gen
suck.
Zers in the beliefs of the audience itself. Kind
No.
of strange.
Their beliefs of the millennials put into them and boomers, not Gen Xers, but millennials and boomers shoved into the mouth of Gen Zers.
And I think technically, like not Damien, but Dick Grayson would be like a millennial because he's like what 34.
He would be a millennial.
Yeah, obviously he's created for a different audience. Yeah, I think the stagnation in constantly like rebooting the characters ages down is a bad idea. See also Tim Drake becoming Twinkle Toes 15-year-old gay kid. Not a good idea. Nerd. Why do you guys think Aquaman has so much trouble keeping an audience? People pay more attention to Krypton than Atlantis.
I think it's just an overall perception of Aquaman. He's been
Yeah.
saddled for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Aquaman talks to fish, and it's very reductive of his character. But I think that's the general kind of perception among people who might, potentially get interested in Aquaman if they actually knew about him.
It's still my perception of them because it's either about talking to fish or a bunch of royal family nonsense shenanigans I don't give a shit about.
Well, he's also always been fighting pollution in the ocean.
He's just had
That's
bad
always-
PR for a while.
So he's
Yeah.
Captain Planet.
For the water.
Yeah.
But not in this recent Aquaman run. He's pretty badass.
Yeah,
like
no,
a
it's like a
man
return
possessed.
to, Peter David did him justice, and Jeremy Adams is doing him justice. So go check out that Aquaman book, which is out this week, by the way. Go
Maybe
grab
it's
it, go
because
grab
his
it, go.
colors are orange and green. You
That's
know
a
what I
good color scheme.
Yeah, that's a good color scheme.
mean? For a sweater from your grandma, maybe, but
No,
not
it
for
looks
Supergirl.
good on him. Come on, man,
It's
it looks
the
great. He's got
Irish-
that, like the
Yeah.
scales
Listen
and the.
you wee bastard. The Irish flag is orange, white, and green. All right, they're noble colors for a noble people.
And that speaks to Aquaman, for he also is orange, white, and green.
Yeah.
Is it Arthur O'Curry?
Arthur O'Curry, yes, he's guys, give Aquaman a
it-
chance, man. That book is
in
great.
The
general-
Irish love curry.
In general, the Aquaman design, like the base Aquaman design, is pretty bland.
Give him a beard, man. Yeah, you
I
just
know,
give him a
but
beard,
they-
he looks good.
Give him
They
the beard
always-
and the hook hand, and he's
they
good to go.
always have to dirty him up in order to make him look cool, and then it kind of comes off as try hard.
Well, I mean, he does look very shiny, and he does kind of have that Super Friends kind of like air about him, no matter what you do with him. Where it's just kind of like cheesy Super Friends, like hey chum.
He should
that
totally
kind of thing.
turn on Batman and screw him over. I think that would probably work with people. Like, yeah, fuck Batman.
But you know what?
Yeah,
Batman
I love
planned
Aquaman.
for it, Wes. Batman planned for that.
Contingency man. Yeah. Rate Deck 7 says, FYI, when I say all ages, I mean well-written, layered stories that don't talk down to readers or are over-sanitized and will appeal to readers from ages 8 to 80. Yeah, that's what we were talking about too, yeah. Where it's accessible.
For the general audience, not just made for like Phoenix fans or Spider-Gwen fans. I mean, those are not, I've been reading all those. Those are not made for a general audience. Those are made for, women.
They are made
Oh, my
for
goodness.
they are made for the writer and only the writer.
Sully, over half the planet are women. They are the
Love
overwhelm.
women.
They are the super majority on the planet, dude.
It's great.
How are they a
It's
super
unfortunate they don't
majority?
like superheroes as much as men.
I think
men do.
just it's about reframing men's power fantasies. It's all a commie plot.
It is. It's a dirty commie plot to take shit away from men.
We're not
No,
allowed
I
to
mean,
have anything.
Look at your
If
spines.
you
and your
take the
masterworks.
average kid from the ages of 8 to 15 anywhere in the world and you give them a Batman character, in Doctor Doom, are they going to sit down and are they going to have tea together or are they going to start fighting? they're going to start fighting. I think you have to write for the audience and
For
understand. what the
boys,
characters-
yes. For girls, they
Yes.
will have a tea party.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
these are
problem.
characters designed for men or boys that are having tea parties. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mrs.
Then-
Nesbit. That's what they're doing to Buzz Lightyear. They're just making it Mrs. Nesbit.
Aw.
Raythex 7, Frank Miller's Daredevil was an all ages Comic Code approved book. The blood and violence in that book wasn't graphic and was often censored or presented in a non graphic way. I don't know, man. You read Born Again, and she's a clear crack lord.
Tell that.
And she's clearly doing things to that dude, like, to get her fix that are not appropriate for kids. But Frank Miller always pushed the.
Yeah.
He knew how to do it, man.
Boundaries.
He knew how to come right up to the line where the Comics Code Authority would go like, I don't know.
Tell that to my mother. I mean, I would take down the curtain rods and walk around and run around the house with my samurai sword, with my ninja sword, because I just saw Kurigi the ninja slice 3 other ninjas in a one swoop.
But I don't know that I would give my 10-year-old like a copy of my Born Again trade. Like, you're not ready for that. Let's wait till you're.
I would.
What can they do? The Karen in that?
No,
effing
terrible,
way.
terrible dad, Doc.
Fucking
Would you give him
helicopter
a-
parents.
Would you give him a copy of Tim Sheridan's Green Lantern?
No.
No.
Dad,
Absolutely not.
what's Alan Scott doing?
What is he
down
doing at the docks?
I'm getting a funny tingle, Dad.
Yeah, that would not be good. Carlitos Figueroa, I find comfort that only the bad thing about DC is the creative decisions. That is sometimes a hit or miss. Not like Marvel nowadays. There are so many things they're doing wrong and very few good. The chasm between DC quality and Marvel quality is really strange. I don't think it's ever happened quite like this.
Yeah, from all aspects, from writing and from art, it's crazy how much better your average DC book is than your average Marvel book right now.
Yeah. Even when like DC was hot, and like I think Rebirth is a better era for DC by far than what we're getting right now. I think
Yeah.
Rebirth is fantastic. Marvel was still actually putting out some decent stuff, like some good stuff.
Yep.
I just
Yeah.
got to read this comment by General Balzac. He says, whenever I played dolls with my girlfriends when I was young people, I brought in my old school G.I. Joe that was missing an arm. He always beat up Ken and started cleaning his rifle on the bed.
And rightfully
Good
so.
for him.
As being a wounded warrior.
That's right. But still more manly than Ken.
So, Dylan, you're more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan. I'm
Yep.
right there with you. DC has all the momentum in the world. They are going to screw this up. How are they going to do it?
Whatever the next event is, they're just
It's
going to
the
screw
event.
it up. Their
There's going to be a
events are
Dark
always
Side event. It's coming up.
Yeah. We just had Dark Side at the beginning of all this, the Absolute Universe, and I'm not looking forward to that because isn't Mark Waid now like the architect of the DC Universe? Isn't he the one that's
Yeah.
going to be in charge?
That's how they're screwing it up.
There it
Yeah.
is.
More
And
Waid.
that's easy, Mark Waid.
Yeah, handing it to Mark Waid, handing him the keys to the kingdom is not the way to go.
Mark Wade's ideological crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
Whatever his
Absolute power was
personal-
Maybe
not
they
his
can
good.
like
personal
slow
bugaboo.
everything down in the Absolute Universe, and every issue is a month in the Absolute Universe, and then all the stuff that happens between the issues, they just talk about it. Would that be a good way to do it?
Ooh.
Sounds great.
Wow.
It's like a
It's
ton
made
of
the Ultimate
Mr.
Universe pretty boring.
Jonathan Hickman, hold my beer.
Yeah, they're gonna screw it up somehow.
Somehow.
And then Nerd says, "How is DC not the market leader?" I think there are several reasons. The biggest reason probably is the fact that Marvel puts out in a given month 82 books, and DC puts out more like 50.
Yep.
So
fun. How are they putting
Also-
out 82 books? That
Here-
is
I can answer this question actually in a very serious way. So part of that is DC puts out roughly half to 60% of Marvel's output. But also DC readers are less forgiving than Marvel, and DC has built themselves up and then promptly shot themselves in the dick and reset themselves to ground zero so many times in the last 25 years that their target audience is reluctant to come back fully because they keep fucking it up. They need this level of creative dominance. I'll put it that way. I'm calling it creative dominance over Marvel for a very sustained period of time. I'm talking like 3, 4, 5 years of DC putting out this quality or better and continuing to improve while Marvel keeps fucking itself up and refusing to listen to what the market says. And then they need to rebuild the trust of the audience is really what it comes down to. If DC was able to fully rebuild their audience trust, they would turn into the market leader between the chasm in quality between them and Marvel and the sustainability and proving themselves to not DC this the fuck up like they have the last 4 or 5 times they put themselves in this position, then they will be the market leader again.
Yul Carter says it's because DC is old people comics.
What?
The youngest guy on
You
the
should
panel
know.
and on the channel every single time is the biggest DC fan on the
He's
channel.
got an old soul. He likes
Dylan, are you
breakfast at Tiffany's. You know what I mean?
Dylan, is your soul actually a like 73-year-old woman?
I don't think so. Not as far as I know.
Do you
as
like
far
breakfast at Tiffany's, Dylan?
I've never seen Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay.
You love it, dude.
I think you'd like it. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm all for good movies.
And Audrey Hepburn is adorable.
But Absolute Batman slaps. According to a couple articles I read, it's bringing in new readers, young readers specifically.
Well, also, as
Yeah,
far
it's
as like,
big dumb Batman, it's not challenging, and it's just big dumb action and
Well,
over
what-
the top stupidity.
what
So
is
it's fun.
what is a book at Marvel that is bringing in young people? If Marvel's the young people place, what would you say that young people are bringing? Because as far as like my Twitter feed goes, when I see younger people talking about comics, it's a lot of Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But what are you got? What Marvel? Because I don't really see anything where someone's like, "Wow, this is great right now." Like young people.
You think
are
it's new
enjoying-
champions?
No, I don't see anyone talking about that.
The only Marvel conversation I see going on is people liking Marvel Rivals and the design and the character designs. That's the only Marvel conversation I see going on amongst young people.
Yeah. And that's not, like, as far as getting young people in, like when I was growing up, that's something that I think's missing now is like the 1-2 punch of having a great cartoon going on and then being able to go to the comic shop and be like, I'm interested in this character. Let me pick up their. Now you don't
If
have.
they made a
especially-
great cartoon, they just put it on Max and like
Yeah.
100,000 people would see it. It wouldn't be available on every TV.
Yeah, and like we're talking about with the whole all ages thing. A lot of the cartoons now is like we're making this specifically for 5-year-olds.
Oh, God, Mr. Miracle.
Or
We're taking
making
Tom
it for
King's crap.
45-year-old cat ladies like Harley
Yeah.
Quinn.
You used to have Batman the Animated Series, Spectacular Spider-Man, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, like a lot of great cartoons that would get you to go check out the characters. And now you don't have any of that. That 1-2 punch is missing.
Well, let's get to some comic book recommendations and put a bow on this sumbitch. Obviously, very thankful to Mike Barron for joining us. Actually, comic book legend, talking about all this kind of stuff. Lots of fun to be had there. Sparrow, you got any comic books you want to recommend this week, or you got any big appearances maybe on World Class Bullshitters or something?
I think this week it's Pop by Culture, but so I will be on Josh's channel this Tuesday. I think we're doing Pop by Culture. I just recorded a podcast, the D-Res podcast with Neon, Matt Moylan, and John's Longbox. We were talking about handling licensed IP and all of the pitfalls and joys that come from that. So I did that. I do have
Probably going to get an
recommendations.
article from Heidi talking about you talking to John's Longbox. Apparently that's...
Oh, really?
Ooh,
Does
good for
Heidi?
you.
Wait! I'm not supposed to talk to John's Longbox.
Does Heidi
No,
have
I
a
don't
mat
think
on
so.
for John's long box?
Maybe it wasn't Heidi. Maybe it was Rich. But somebody wrote an article like, they talked to John's Longbox, as if it was scandalous. It was hilarious.
Like,
Oh
that's
my
just
God.
that's just like an old nerd.
Well, nobody talks to Rich anymore. So, I mean, and nobody reads Rich, and his relevance has faded. So, I can understand that he'd have to like glom onto YouTubers to try to get somebody to pay attention to his shit. But I do have a lot of comic book recommendations this week. This is probably the most comics I have had on my pull list in a week, in as long as I can remember, all the way back to where I just pretty much got out during Civil War II. This week, I am recommending Conan number 21 by our good friend Jim Zub. It got a great tan Panosian cover on it. Looks amazing, but that book continues to rock. Transformers 21. Wes convinced me to go back in and get into Transformers, and I am not disappointed. We
You're
got
welcome.
some kick-ass Transformers action this week. Got some Superion. Yep. Oh, love it. TMNT number 9. I don't love Jason Aaron's writing, but it is worth it just for the Juan Ferreira art. He is doing such amazing things in those panels. The way he is using the environments to do panel borders is just unbelievable. I think it's a masterclass in just, you know, the creative use of the comics medium and the comics page. Geiger 15 is out this week. That is really a lot of fun. We got Aquaman 6, which we recommended earlier. You know, Jeremy Adams is killing it. I'm hearing that Aquaman's kind of sales struggling wise. So if you guys can get, you know, if you guys have any interest in DC at all, any interest in Aquaman, or even if you just want to support Jeremy Adams, who is delivering quality work and deserves all the success in the industry. He is a super nice guy, and he is an amazing talent. Go and check him out, and also check out Green Lantern Corps number 5, which is also out. These are my recommendations. I also would like to say that if any of you wanted to pick up the Dallas Fan Expo Kneel Before Doomface Preview Your Doom exclusive, it is up on the Kneel Before Doomface website. For whatever reason, I cannot get it on the front page, but if you just click on the in-stock items, you will be able to find it and pick that up. And I will sign it.
Can confirm. I tried to find it. I was like, why is it not on the page here? And I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know why I cannot get it onto the page, so I'm gonna have to consult somebody.
Well, very nice. We've also got Dylan, the Real Comic Book Gamer. Do you have any videos that have come out recently or coming out that people need to know about before you talk about your favorite comics this week?
Yeah, I did a video on the Punisher series that's coming out from Ben Percy that we talked about a little bit today. So I talked about that, and I also did a video on episode Batman number 9 because we got Bane. That was pretty interesting. So those 2 videos are out. So definitely check those out. And then for comics this week is, if you're a Batman fan, it was a great week. Absolute Batman number 9 was good. Batman Robin number 2 was great. Batman Dark Patterns number 7 was great. Batman Robin, Jason Todd number 1 was pretty good. Aquaman number 6, really good. Geiger number 15, the big crescendo to this arc that had been going on, was great. And then Far Down Below number 3 has been pretty good. That's been a fun series.
That Geiger, that splash page with the nuclear explosion and the 6 panels.
Yes, seeing where that
amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
But
wow.
that's what makes me sad. The next arc is the No Gary Frank arc, where we're getting the villain artist back.
So is the fire
Isn't
down
Peltier
below?
the villain artist?
I don't remember. Yeah, the villain artist isn't bad. It's just, you know, going from Gary Frank to anyone is yeah.
Is the fire down below about the writer's challenge with, you know, like herpes?
Chlamydia.
It's Far Down Below, not Fire Down Below.
Got it. Well, very, very nice. It was definitely a good week if you're a DC fan or an indie fan. Marvel, not so much. But perhaps Sully's going to have some Marvel recommendations. He said Marvel's back, baby.
Well, did I buy any Marvel books this week? I did the opposite. I got 4 DC books this week, 1 Skybound and 1 Dark Horse comic. I got 6 funny books this week from my local funny book bodega. That's right, the local comic book shop, which is an independent bookstore. It is the American dream in action. Support independent small businesses. Go out to your local comic book shop. Spend your money there. You need bags, you need boards, you need boxes, you need supplies. You know it. And pick them up at your local comic book shop. This week, I got Robin and Batman, Jason Todd issue number 1. And I had a small victory on Twitter. I basically asked John McCrae if he could unblock me so I could buy his fabulous 1 in 25 variant cover. And he did. And he responded being like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't unblock. I'll unblock you right away. I'm like, cool. So
I'll block you right now to make up for it.
Oh,
and then
God.
and then once you bought it, he was blocking you again.
Nah, well, Jeff Lemire wrote this. Dustin Wen drew it, and he also did the colors, and the colors look like watercolors. And so, but I'm not really sold on a lot of the panels. Look kind of janky, and I'm actually kind of a stickler for Robin outfits, the Robin uniform. So, you know, I'm just not really sold on this year 1 Jason Todd Robin outfit. But will I come back for issue 2? Probably not. but I'm glad that I gave it a chance. Aquaman issue number 6 by Jeremy Adams. Great book. On my pull list. I'm going to keep it for as long as it's available. Green Lantern Corps number 5. Great art by V. Ken Marion. It's a decent story. A lot of focus on
half a decent story, dude. It's half a good story, and it's other half of a bad story.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'll agree with you that's yeah. And we got a Superman ad on the back of the thing. On the back of the thing, the back of the book. I got from Black Label, Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma number 3 by Ram V. It's my cup of tea. I like this kind of story, and it's this is as close to like really old Vertigo. I don't know why they're still using the Black Label trade dress. Why can't we start using Vertigo? When can we start getting Vertigo books again?
No, when we forget how ruined that line was by what's his name?
Andy Curry.
Yeah,
huh? I got Transformers number 21. This is a great book. Like Aaron Sparrow said, it's Transformers fans unite and rejoice. The art in this is really good by Jorge Corona. Daniel Warren Johnson's allegedly coming off the book in 3 more issues. So get yours while you still can. And you probably can because they keep reprinting this stuff. This is like Comics Gold. And my pick of the week, and it's an indie darling. It's Robo Wolf number 1 on Dark Horse Comics.
So you also liked it.
I love this book. I'm looking forward to more. It's a great issue number 1. So there are 2 types of issues number 1. One that actually tells a story, and one that just actually gives you your inciting incident for the trade paperback. This is a really good story, a great hook. Introduce lots of expository language, great art, great color. It's fun. It's meant to evoke those late 80s Mirage comic knockoffs, in my humble opinion, like the art style and the tone. And it's also meant to evoke like the story of a late 80s, early 90s video game. So it's really fun. It's a 3-issue mini. Jake Smith writes this, and he also does the art. So it's a one-man show, and so take a chance on an independent comic book. This is a solid rec from me, and maybe Wes too.
Absolutely, I recommend that book. Unfortunately, it came out last week, I think, so it won't be on Best of the Week. But
it was on my new release shelf this week. I think it got held up. I would have bought it last week because I read it 2 weeks ago. But I think maybe the distribution stuff delayed it by a week. So I got it fresh this week, and I'm looking forward to it.
It gave me the 2000 AD feels, and it gives you the Mirage feels, huh?
Yeah, like the early Mirage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
I can see that because of the van. I get where you're going.
The van, well, also the art style too. And also it wasn't just that, it was like the knockoffs, like Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters and Miami Mice, like stuff like that. That was just, just these were the fodder that was on the shelves. They were all knockoffs of TMNT in the late 80s. Yeah. And this really nails that. And I love the sense of humor, the one-liners, the hyper violence, the Robo Wolf himself. He's kind of just like, he is like, a little aloof and kind of a little dense.
He's a dude, bro.
He's a dude, bro. It's really fun, man. It's really fun. Check it out.
Definitely, if you get a chance, check that one out. And then Nerd says, my brother is KPM. We use each other's accounts sometimes. And he says he's got some more design ideas. He'll message you soon. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now that I'm back on vacation, we can get back on some of those T-shirt ideas that we were coming up with. So I appreciate the heads up and all that noise. Finally, Doc, do you have any comic book recommendations or things people need to know about?
Well, I recommend that you go and check out our review of giant-sized Kamala Khan X-Men Dark Phoenix whenever that's up, because this is a book that should not exist. And,
it'll be out on Monday.
Yep. And then I did not go to a comic shop this week. I didn't go anywhere near one. But I do have some recommendations. We're going to go old school. We're going to start with Danger Girl. It was only 7 issues. It's a good, fun story. J. Scott Campbell doing art. This is the first issue. This is the Chromium A Go-Go variant cover. because we all love a good chromium cover, right? So, yep. Then, this is actually the only thing that even approaches fantasy that I've ever enjoyed. Michael Turner's Soulfire. He only finished, I think, six or seven issues of the book before he passed. And then Joe Benitez actually finished the last few issues. This is the Diamond Retail Summit variant from 2006 when the book launched. Now I'm really feeling fucking old because this book came out 19 fucking years ago. But I mean, just this is the only thing approaching fantasy that I've ever liked. And it was really good, fun story in a weird kind of cyberpunk fantasy Neo Tokyo kind of future with fucking dragons. And you know, then we're going to go with something real fun. Art Adams, this is the second of the 3 issues that he did his new Fantastic Four trilogy in Fantastic Four, issues 347, 348, and 349. And I mean, come on. It's the Fantastic Four made of Spider-Man, Joe Fixit Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine. It is the quintessential 1990s team. Then, for whatever reason, this book is hard to find. It's just a random issue of Astonishing X-Men, but shows you kind of a little bit of a contrast in Art Adams' style. I mean, you could tell it's the same artist, but it's like he's softened so much in his art style. But for whatever reason, this book is actually really, really hard to find. Astonishing X-Men, I think 43. It's just an Art Adams cover, but it's really good and fun. And then finally, ASM 362. First appearance of Carnage. I think I recommended 344 a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy. First appearance of Carnage. Also a vastly superior version of Carnage than everything we've gotten in the last 15 years or so. But yeah, so those are my recommendations for this week.
Well, very, very nice. And I saw that Zeke is in the chat today, and definitely want to give him a shout out. I think we all met him. Well,
Yeah, we did Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke and Val. Yeah.
And Dylan, all we all met Zeke and his lady Val at Dallas Fan Expo, which was awesome.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was sitting here going, who the hell's Zeke? Why do I... Is this somebody I'm supposed to know?
Well,
No,
Doc,
it
if
is.
you would have made the trip,
You were there.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
they're
yeah. No,
touring
I
public.
get that. I'm like, that's why I'm like, wait, is this somebody I'm supposed to know?
Zeke was asking if you're the Bob Sagamoto of the show. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he says the same about you, Jerry.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say the Bob Saget, where
You're not that funny.
surprisingly raunchy comedian.
Raunchy comedian.
Yeah. Doc comes out with some pretty wild stuff. I'll give him some Saget cred. I mean, if we
So
told him about what
that'll-
happened to you at that lunch, Wes, we would have had some.
You'll
Bob
hear about
Saget
it in the
material.
video.
Oh,
Yeah.
did he have Aaron? Did he have chicken nuggies? Was he
No,
consistent?
It
No,
It was not chicken nuggets.
chicken in an
no.
earlier form.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
chicken
It was,
fluid.
yeah, let's not get into that too details. It'll be a video where I'll explain the
On your chicken juice fetish.
sexual assault that I received during Fan Expo Dallas at the hands of an egg. So that was lots of fun. I do appreciate everybody. Hope you have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week on the Comics Aficionados.